Okay, welcome everybody. Hope everyone had a good 4th and everything. We see a lot of news going on, also in Texas, stuff like that and everything. I wanted to go over some of this song and everything, and people are going to have different views. I mean, I related to presidents supposedly, and so, my views are to be different from a lot of other people's on this and everything. So I wanted to jump right into this here.
Something so funny about people being like, dog, have you seen the legal mindset video about you? Dude, if I were to cover every Rumble lawyer, fake lawyer that actually is like a fucking right-wing freak that spends most of their time talking about like trans people, I would lose my mind. I would have no time to cover anything else. I get it. A lot of you are drama perverts, okay? And you nut.
That's exactly what Hasan
is he back to?
I don't listen to Hasan. I don't regularly listen to Austin Gold all the time. I see like just snippets of their videos, stuff like that, and everything. But
back to the I'm above drama thing again. Yes, is he doing this again? He is.
Yes, he is.
Okay, right.
When you think about the prospect of drama, but I'm not going to pay any mind or any attention to some fucking psychotic MAGA lawyer, not a real lawyer, but a passport bro, who offers fucking courses.
He didn't say he was a lawyer. He said he was. Did he say he was a lawyer?
On becoming a passport bro.
He is a lawyer. He's still. He passed the bar here and somewhere here in America. He's also a lawyer in South Korea as well, I believe, in some other Asian countries, though he's been living mostly in South Korea lately. He's been going to Thailand, stuff like that. A lot of lawyers like to go to Southeast Asia and live there.
Primarily fucking streams on Rumble. Why?
I don't see how Hasan can criticize someone from being a passport bro whenever you went to brothels overseas. I think that's a bit of a double standard.
Yeah,
that's just me. But to me, that seems like a double standard.
Why do you guys come in here and ask for this stuff? It's never going to happen. Okay? It's never happening.
Is this it?
We're talking about Le Boobies. 24 karat gold Le Boobies. Dude, you got to watch the Sigma Grindset lawyer's fucking video on you. Okay. I'm good, man. Thanks.
Carrot gold, Labubu.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So he wasn't happy about the video. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and watch it. We'll see if there's a reason to be unhappy about it, okay? I haven't seen this. Apparently, it came out earlier today, and we will take a look at it. So this is Legal Mindset. He recently hit apparently 300,000 subscribers, and he released a video, and it's called Twitch Has a Hasan Problem. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's watch it. Here we go. And also, by the way, of course Hasan isn't going to watch a video of people calling into action the fact that he pulled out what could have been considered as a firearm. Whether you think that it's a real gun or not, apparently people said it was an airsoft gun. Go rob a store, go rob a bank with an airsoft gun. You're going to get charged as if it was a real gun. I don't think it really matters, but, you know, of course he's not going to watch that.
I mean, I've had guns waved to my face, stuff like that. I've had people take assault weapons on me and stuff like that. Like I said, I've been around some violent stuff in my life and everything. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said,
Twitch has a brand new Hasan problem, and this one could have...
So he's not introducing himself as a lawyer, right? He's just talking about legality? Because I was just curious, like, if that was what was going to happen.
huge repercussions, both legal and non-legal. We're going to get into that today. Of course, on the legal mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and I'm bringing you this
attorney.
Fast Facts
Okay, there we
premiere,
go.
a quick and dirty version, while I once again on
Is he an attorney or not? I don't even know.
Yes.
short vacation in lovely Phuket, Thailand.
I
So
guess he is.
another
I don't know.
hotel room, another place, but still bringing
is
you
a
the
lawyer?
freshest news. So make sure you like this video.
He
if
is?
you like
Okay.
the Fast
Well,
Facts
then
version.
why would they say it's fake? Esquire means attorney? Oh, I thought it was like a French word. Like espier from like
He has a very popular, I believe he's might be Ranger Loyalty or something like that. Real famous people, stuff like that, something like that anyways.
Expedition 33. I just thought it was like a made up word. That's crazy. Okay.
So let's get right into it. Twitch has always taken a preferential stance when it comes to enforcing its guidelines, or
That's one
at
way to
least
say it.
it, when looking at its terms of service, has not always applied those equally to all groups and people.
No.
And one of the people that gets the most criticism
Everybody knows this. Everybody knows it. It's a fact.
for this, and that many
Shut up.
folks
Not
across
feeling
the board
well, so.
have said is the really recipient of a lot of the benefit of the terms of service without the burden of punishment, has been one Hasan Piker. Now,
I actually think that Hasan is the most noteworthy case because he's really popular.
Obviously.
But the fact is that other people do worse stuff than Hasan all the time,
Right.
and they never get in trouble either.
Right.
I think that really everybody thinks about Hasan because, again,
most popular.
that's what gets the most attention. But the fact is that, like, Mike from PA goes way harder than Hasan does. Really. Like, I mean, there's no universe where... Like, I mean, Hasan does things that are unhinged, but even
No,
Hasan,
so
I
yes,
think,
so
tries to at least pretend to not be crazy.
He pretends. Yeah.
now today there was an absolutely extreme incident which really points out the problem for Twitch in having this unequal enforcement involving Hasan, and how this can have legal consequences. And this is involving him swinging around what appears to be, and that's the very key here legally and overall, what appears to be a weapon. So let's take a look at the video, and of course this is video that I found over on X, which highlights
that's
this
Twitter.
incident. So we'll take this clip here and give some commentary as we go.
It's time to crusade Iran and Gaza. Mamdani communists. Let's go to war against the left.
So so to give you some background here, it appears there's a chatter in his chat who is made a bunch of comments. Obviously, these are comments that are not fitting with the vibe in the crowd of.
I mean, to be fair, this chatter should be permanent.
I don't.
Like they should have their
Let's
account
see,
deleted.
Let's see. Hasan Piker getting beat up. Some communists. Let's go to war against the left. Hasan Piker getting beat up soon. If they all shall be hung for treason. I don't really care. I know there are people that have said a lot of shit to me and everything. Now, I deserve to be banned from his chat. I don't care about the platform. There's a lot of people that like me dead and stuff, for some stuff died over years or whatever. Stuff that I do, people have threatened me over years. That's called freedom of speech. So, get the fuck used to it. There's gonna be people that hate you, there's people that hate me. There are people that hate people that I love, and celebrities that I love, and everything like that. And everything is just the way that it is. You do stuff, people are going to hate you for some of that speech. They want you dead sometimes too. If you're a threat to them and their version, their speech or whatever, they're gonna say stuff. The thing is to kick them off your chat and stuff like that. Otherwise, I see it as free speech. I do. I don't give a fuck what it says. You know, when we made the Constitution, our forefathers said death to the redcoats, death to the British, and stuff like that. when we made the Constitution, we didn't make, you know, a stupid thing about hateful speech or terroristic speech. All speech was encompassed in the freedom of speech. That's the way the Constitution reads. Now, with the internet and how words have much more power and everything, you have free flow of so much information and speech and everything like that. Things are a lot different. And, you know, what stupid laws on hate speech or terroristic, so-called terroristic speech, you give them an inch, they take a foot. And then they deem all kinds of sorts of speech. I mean, look, I even said there's a lot of speech that shouldn't be allowed myself and everything like that. And, you know, like, you know, religious rhetoric, you know, speech and everything. And the thing is, you know, it's up to the platform. It's up to the platform if, you know, they allow what I say. It's up to the platform if they allow whoever says anything, right? And some of this speech, of course, didn't exist. Some stuff didn't exist before the founders. So if you look at Islamic stuff and how their speech was, you know, that wasn't around back then before, you know, the founders and stuff like that. That wasn't around. And everything like that. So people can say things stuff about that. You're talking about, you know, porn and stuff like that. That existed, you know, when the founders, you know, for the Constitution, it was already there, and stuff like that. So I mean, in some ways, people can say what I say is hypocritical too, on some stuff. But you know, there's that's free speech. And if you don't like it, you block the person. You know, people hating you to a death, that's part of life. When you get popular and you do stuff that people don't like, they're gonna want you dead sometimes. It's just going to happen and everything. It's just the way it is. There are people that want me dead. That's just the way life is and everything. You know, so
like calling for war and to hang streamers, like they should have their account deleted. I mean, even if you don't like Hasan or you don't like Zoran Mandami, like you can't have people saying that shit, right?
Hasan's chat. Obviously, for any of this, he would have the ability to block.
Well, he's saying that too because he doesn't want people going to his chat. I don't want people. If people said, you know, hey, Tano, kill Tano, or whatever, I'm going to ban them. But I mean, there is like, I mean, hell, I mean, I believe their freedom of speech when it comes to that stuff. I just do. And stuff like that. That's where the platform has their rights to get rid of you and everything else. So I mean,
and or ban this person. Of course, every single content creator retains the right to ban people out of their chat for whatever reason.
Right.
Some people are more permissive, some people are more restrictive. That's really up to the creators on their platform. If they choose to ban people for anything, that's up to them. We wouldn't be here today if this was just a block and ban incident, which, once again, I think there was plenty of grounds for.
By the way, about Mandami's application to Colombia, he's actually from Uganda, so his application was accurate. So him being African American, like African American is a specific identity of black people that exist in America. Africans are not African American. African American. They are African. It is a specific identity of a group of people inside of the United States. He put that on his application in order to use it to get an advantage. He's not a stupid guy. This is a very intelligent, very well manicured, well presenting, intelligent person. He put that so it would increase his chances.
He's always a threat to democracy. He is. He's a threat to how he wants a communist type regime. He wants government to rule over people, and I think that people have gotten so dumb and stupid in some places that they vote for this idiot because they have no brains, no intelligence, that they want the government to make decisions for them, what they can and cannot do, and stuff like that. And it's like, here, at that point, you should forfeit your right to vote and just have your party vote for you if you don't have the intelligence.
Chances of getting accepted. Everybody knows it. Why are we playing games?
For him as a creator, saying, "Hey, I don't want this person here."
He knew.
And some of this language was even pretty extreme, saying hang Hasan for treason. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. And
yeah, sure.
You know what? Blocking and banning someone for that would be called for. If someone came into my chat or anybody else's chat and said that about that creator, they would probably catch a ban. They would probably catch a block and a ban, and possibly a report, a broader report. But the response that Hasan gives here is not proportional nor appropriate to these comments. Let's play this.
In our sincerity and actually delivering for the very working.
So let's be clear. He's gone and retrieved what appears to be a pistol. Now, many people have pointed. So let's be clear. He's gone and retrieved what.
And actually delivering.
This is what it is right here. Harm yourself or disgusting yourself, harm you dangerous. Watch yourself with viewers or downstairs. They'll discuss this as topics related to self-harm and mental health. Just in a safe place. Just not allow content glorifies, promotes, or encourages self-harm. We prohibit activity that may endanger your life, lead to your physical harm, or encourage others' physical harmful behavior. That's self-destructive, though. This is destructive to other people, though, so that's probably why we got
in our sincerity and actually delivering for the very working.
So let's be clear. He's gone and retrieved what appears to be a pistol. Now, many people have pointed out it could be airsoft.
Even the dog is on alert. The dog is like, oh, fuck.
Or it is airsoft or whatever else. The key here is that it appears to be a real weapon. I'll also note, as someone who played airsoft for like 8-9 years as a kid, I had MP5s, I had pistols, I had a sniper rifle, and
the
airsoft.
big thing is about what a person has a right to say. It's about the air, how it gets disseminated, about what people say usually, you know, this person should be hated, that person should be hated, executed. I think it's about that and everything. I got my extreme views on it, on things and stuff like that. I think it's about that. It's like I have hardly anybody, so it's like I can get away with more of whatever. I think. Also, people don't like when I say they don't have to watch, they don't have to see or anything. But I mean, I think that's about what it is. It's about the population and stuff like that.
Sniper rifle. You're supposed to have an orange tip or a marker on the end of an airsoft. That would be not a typical airsoft to lack that marker or
like
remove
I said, I got my own extreme views myself, people would say, so it's like
that orange tip, even though, of course, some people do that. Some people make it more realistic.
Instantaneously,
but the
we did that.
key here, and this is a key that is not just in analyzing this for Twitch terms of service, but also broader for the law, is that you can make a physical threat. You can make a threat or try to intimidate somebody with even a fake weapon, with a fake knife, with a fake gun, with a fake bomb. If you were going to try to hijack a plane and you attempted that with a fake gun,
you get tried as if you were
not be material in terms of your defense. You would not be able to say, oh, but well, it was fake, so I couldn't do it.
and stuff like that. So
It all along, when you get caught and arrested and thrown in jail, you don't get off because, it was fake. No, you would lead a reasonable person to believe that was.
Yeah, you don't need to be a lawyer to know this. Like, even I know this. How many of you guys already knew this?
a lot of people may not know, but it's time you get in there, which could be up to 15 years or whatever, 7 to 15. It depends. It depends on state jurisdiction and stuff like that.
Real and a reasonable person
A
could
plane
have.
and stuff like that. Plus, you can never use the airport. You can never use the airport. You can never use that plane, etc. You put on a database. You put in a database and everything else. So
A fear of that knife, gun, bomb, whatever, despite the fact that it's not objectively real. So that's a defense a lot of people brought up, and I don't think that stands up. Let's continue.
Politics compared with what President Trump has been able to do. Over the same period of time that I've been running, has been tell him I couldn't get my name right. It's going to look like again.
Okay, fair enough.
Once again, brandishing the weapon,
So
flaring it
a
around.
guy says those guys should behave and stuff like that. He has this gun, or if it's an air gun or whatever. He flashes his gun. It's like, you do something to me. It's not illegal. It's like self-defense thing. It's not illegal. Like, cause he shouldn't dispense law. Try to dispense law. He shouldn't, but he does.
Around. Obviously, there's a point to this. Obviously, there's an individual who this is directed at. This is something that's not really ambiguous in the general intention.
It's a self-defense thing. It's like, you come after me, I got this gun ready for you. This person's self-defense thing, say, stay the fuck away from me, or you're gonna get hurt. I got that right. Anybody else does. You know what I'm saying? If it incites people, then it's like, it's a warning, is what it is. It's a warning. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna, as long as you say, I need to go out and blow your head off or whatever, As long as, let's see though, if it changes.
It's pretty obvious who's trying to threaten the guy. That's obviously what's going on.
He tossed the wrong guy, which, he should have gotten.
I mean, and also I think it's, again, a very, very big mistake because, like, if you show a gun, that's going to hurt. Like, if you shoot somebody breaking into your house and they have clips of you showing a gun and that you're going to shoot people, they could use that as evidence that you premeditated it and you wanted to shoot them, which could make you...
That's complete bullshit. No way. They go into your house. You have a right to defend yourself. Having that gun there is a self-defense thing. It's a warning. I wish he'd shut the fuck up about this because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And these chatters are pretty stupid too. When they talk about, when they agree with him, he does. I wish he'd shut the fuck up about some of this stuff. I really do. Because, let me tell you, if somebody, if I went to go carry somebody's threatening me, or whatever, it's like, hey, come on in, you're gonna get blown up. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get it. You come to my house, you're dead. That's it. That's to let them know. That's a warning.
Your appeal for self-defense weaker.
No, it's
so
not.
I think it was a
No,
mistake.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's a mistake to do that.
He's an idiot. When he talks
Oh, you
about
found
that
his
stuff.
account.
Today, I'll show you 3 ways you can use your smartphone.
So here's another crazy thing about the doxing. So now you've paired, so you've linked up brandishing a weapon, what appears to be a real weapon, whether or not it is, whether it's an airsoft or whether it's fake. You've paired up brandishing a weapon with doxing, which is revealing their private information, which, by the way, in certain jurisdictions, in certain places
California,
in the world,
I think, is one of
is
them.
illegal.
Yeah.
So you've done two things which are potentially illegal. There's the brandishing, the threats, the intimidation, and then you've got the doxing, right? So you've got two separate things you're now doing is illegal.
Yeah.
So you've paired up brandishing a weapon with doxing, which is revealing their private information, which, by the way, in certain jurisdictions, in certain places
California,
in the world,
I think, is one of
is
them.
illegal.
Yeah.
So you've done two things which are potentially illegal. There's the brandishing, the threats, the intimidation, and then you've got the doxing, right? So you've got two separate things you're now doing together.
That depends. That depends on point of view. And of course, it depends on the court case and stuff like that. You can also say self-defense, saying, hey, this is a warning, and stuff like that. If you say, hey, I'm going to kill you, that is a threat. Again, he's presenting his side. Andrew's putting his side, he's putting, Osmond Zach is putting his side of it and stuff like that. So, I mean, again, doxing, that has to do with SWAT, law enforcement, federal officials, which is crazy. How laws only protect people in power, but not normal people. But let's get it.
Is combining to make it even worse.
Not good at all.
This is the guy?
First thing we want to do is download the YouTube.
It's not the
The
guy.
thing is, this is the problem. He doxed the wrong person, which legally leaves him open. I mean, that right there, you dox somebody, oh boy, best thing, dox the wrong person. You just open up yourself to a can of whoop ass. So whatever comes at you, just open yourself up.
It's not even the guy.
That's a
Yes, app,
huge
which we can do
problem.
through the first link in the description.
Again, what Andrew has is his opinion. Other lawyers are going to have their opinions, etc. So, I mean, Austin has his opinion and everything else. When it goes to court or whatever, you better have good defense lawyers and stuff like that. But Twitch seems to have his back on this, and whether good or bad, that depends on a person's point of view.
Bro?
And of course,
I
I do.
know other streamers have brandished their weapons, and Austin has, what's his name? I actually saw him for a few minutes last night. He's just got a magazine and stuff like that, rounds it, stuff like that. Depends how you brandish it and stuff like that. I don't see a problem when you have it for self-defense and show it for self-defense reasons and stuff like that. They're the law of rappers on, that has say, hey, I'm ready for you, I'm ready for this, stuff like that. They don't get banned. So this has a lot to do with the person and stuff like that. They got their opinions. Yeah, honestly.
do like the pop-up there just explaining that this is clearly against their TOS. This is something that is not, holistically, both the doxing and the threatening.
He's not threatening. He didn't say I'm going to kill you. That I know of. Unless somebody could tell me differently. Which there isn't anybody here that can tell me different. So that's the thing. If he was threatening them like I'm going to kill you or whatever, that'd be different. Now, if somebody said I'm going to kill you, I say no, I'm going to get you first. You have to come after me or whatever. I see that self-defense still. Because that's a warning. That's a warning, and you have to defend yourself and stuff like that. So, anyways.
Of course, against the Twitch terms of service, right?
Yeah.
Write a petition? Let's do a crusade, he says. Let's do a fucking crusade, he says. Let's hang Hasan
Yeah, I see a
for treason, he
self-defense.
says. The fuck are you
Listen,
doing?
there's plenty of stuff I don't like about Hasan. There's a lot of stuff I don't. But with this, it's like, I don't care. and I see it more as a self-defense mechanism. When he got scared, it's like, come after me, it's like, I'll use these. I do not see a problem with that. They do because they don't like him. This is the way that I see it. They're trying to make a big issue. They don't like him for their own religious, political reasons and stuff. There's plenty of stuff I don't like about Hasan myself. But
Go on a fishing expedition? Try to fucking put malware in my phone? Is that what you're gonna do?
You don't have to have big muscles in order to pull the trigger of a gun.
you never say he did.
It's not like you have to work out in order to shoot a gun. That's the whole point of a gun.
I think he knows that.
Like, I don't even, like, what, are they going to beat each other up with a gun? I don't know.
Maybe.
You're misinterpreting it. It's not a threat. He's just fucking stupid.
No.
I think
don't
that
think he's-
if you pulled out
like
a
I
gun...
said, I believe he's just saying, I got this for self-defense. If you come after me, I got this ready to use it. That's what's happening. I mean, these guys are based. It pisses me off that they are. Because if they're doing the same thing, I'd be fighting for their civil rights. And I have less and less respect for them. Both of them, because of their bullshitness.
like this in front of a police officer, you would be spending the night in jail or in the morgue.
It's not a police officer, you dumbass. It's not a police officer, you idiot. So stop saying that. Stop putting that there. It's not. And if a police officer was threatening me, I would hit back. I don't care if it is a police officer. If a police officer does something illegal to me, I would hit back. I say, fuck you.
I think this is
This is all
absolutely
about
a threat.
police
I think if
officers
somebody
out there.
went to your house and they did this in front of your house, you'd be calling the police.
Let me tell you about
That's-
something about being on the streets, you dumbass. I've been on the streets a lot more than you ever have, and the police ain't gonna be there to help you, you idiot. You gotta defend yourself. The police ain't gonna make it. When somebody breaks into your place or they come after you on the street, you better be ready to use that firearm or whatever else you got. Whether it be a knife or a fist or whatever. The police can't, watch you 24/7, you dumbass. They can't. So stop putting that bullshit out there.
It's the truth.
I think you're too stupid.
And everybody knows
Both of
it.
These guys are too stupid.
You skinny bitch.
And to be clear, nothing that Hasan said would be necessarily impermissible. He could say all those things. He could call them, I believe his technical word was a skinny bitch, all he wants. That would have been perfectly fine. He could
It's
yell.
actually not perfectly fine, because if
It
Tectone
is.
can get banned for calling Frogan a fat bitch, then why is Hasan not getting banned for calling someone else a skinny bitch?
That is true. That is true. Tectone should be able to say what he wants. Hasan should be able to say what he wants. And Andrew is just putting out bullshit about this, but anyways. And the thing is, it matters what happens in court, but, Andrew is based on this. I know there's going to be some lawyers that agree with him, and there's going to be lawyers that don't agree with his BS. Anyways,
What is this, fat privilege?
yeah.
That doesn't seem fair.
At this guy the whole night, scream at this guy the whole night. The problem was the weapon combined with the doxing, right? All the other stuff he could do. That's his show. He can run it how he wants. That wouldn't necessarily be against TOS to just yell at the guy the whole night and make fun of the guy. That's fine. Do it your way. Not what we do on my channel. But hey, he can do it on his channel all he wants. But with that, you open yourself up to a bunch of problems. And Twitch is opened up to a bunch of problems because now they've got to decide what they're going to do with Hasan. And in the past, they've only given him slaps on the wrist. That is, they've given him 1 day or 24-hour bans or sometimes 12-hour bans. And that's been all they've done with him. But now we've got a serious problem because we've got a situation in which if he is not banned for this, this opens up this behavior for others. So it opens up this behavior, these threats for other people, which can bring on what appears.
I think also it another. I don't know if he's going to talk about this or not. I mean, but my understanding is like if I mean, Twitch obviously knows this happened, right? And if Twitch knowingly ignored this, and something bad happens in the future at Twitch, they could use this as evidence that there's a pattern of behavior that Twitch does not cull or, action problematic actors. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think
And like that
he's
can be used
wrong,
as like a
except for
precedent
doxing.
of irresponsibility, negligence, or something like that. They have to do something. You're wrong on that? Well, okay, so I can draw a parallel, okay? And this is the only thing I can do as a good argument. And again, like maybe he could, elaborate on this more than I could. But like, for example, for any sort of, child sexual abuse material or copyright material, the problem is not that the content is on the platform. The problem only exists with liability towards the company if the company knows the content is on the platform.
Oh, it's full of bullshit. So except for with doxing. They're not going to be liable for anything. Andrew can spout bullshit about this himself too, and everything. But I mean, you have the right to. I believe this is self-defense. They got a right to defend yourself. If somebody threatens to hang me, stuff like that, do stuff, yeah, it's like I got guns for that or whatever. Come at me, bitch. You'll be dead. Pretty much. You're gonna get hurt. Prepare yourself, because that's Hasan's right. That's anybody's right. This just based on because of their politics and they don't like him. And there's plenty I don't like about Hasan, but it's their right to, it's their right, It's my
And
right.
they permit it to be on the platform. So they're not proactively accountable, but if there's evidence that they knew about it and they let it happen, then they are accountable.
I refuse to listen to these dumbasses anymore. It's just, you see the doxing thing, I do see legal problems with that. If somebody threatens me, I dox their fucking ass, that's, if they're the right person, then, they threaten me and stuff, then, hey, that's fair game, the way I see it. But, as long as they threaten, make real threats. You do it to the wrong person, though. You leave yourself on to account of whip ass and stuff like that. But, anyways.
But it's just this is not a good business to as a market replacement.
This is about, let's see. I want to go over this. Jesus Christ. It's 10. Oh, boy. He pissed me off real good. I know that. You think that I've been fighting for people's rights a lot longer than these people. Jesus Christ. Oh. This is from Austin too. Holy shit. I don't know if there's any reason to keep doing this shit. Anyways, yes, more viewers. Let's go. I mean, I said my stuff. This shouldn't be about just games. This should be about also movies and other media that we buy, or if whatever we buy, full price at full price. We should be owning it, and it shouldn't be just about stupid games, and it is. Let's see. I don't think this is the right one. I don't think this is. This is 7 days ago. I don't think it is the right one. Let's see here. I'm actually on my friends right now. Jesus Christ, I have this and I have mine. Hold on. Nobody's watching, so it's like, let me see. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, so it was an update.
Apparently,
What's up?
the video games, I don't know, commission group, a lobbying group for Video Games Europe has made a statement about stop killing games. That's right. We appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with the local consumer...
The thing is, this should be about. It should be a global thing. And it should be here in America. It should be about just video games. It should be about movies and everything else. I think I'd end it here probably. Well, because nobody seems to say anything, whatever.
protection laws. Well, so it's about that last sentence that we really need to talk about, though, right? So you're complying with the local consumer protection laws.
The thing is, this should be happening in America. It should be about not just video games. It should be about movies that we buy, or it'd be like Amazon services or other digital marketplaces where we have to buy, movies, games from Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, Blizzard, Activision. We're getting really fucked. We're really getting fucked up the ass by these companies where, we have to create accounts and we don't own what we buy. It pisses me off where I'm just not buying stuff, it's just because we don't own it. Unless we own it, we should not be paying these sons of bitches any money. There may be a few games I'm interested in, but most of the stuff that these places create nowadays is crap anyway. Unless it's something, companies that talk about Black Myth Wukong, some of these indie companies, Asian companies, they're putting out better games, but the problem is, we should own it. We shouldn't need an internet connection. We should own that, download it, own it. And that goes not just for games, and they're not seeing the bigger picture. They should see the bigger picture. It shouldn't be just about video games. It should be about all other stuff that we buy on the internet. And it should be just Europe looking into this. The U.S. should have done stuff, 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago, I should say 10 years ago. But I don't see Congress really caring that much about consumer protection, people's protection that much. I see them protecting themselves more often instead of the people.
Well, we've got a few new ones for you to comply to. How about that? How about we just have a couple more of those, and you're going to comply with those as well. And also, you're gonna follow. You're gonna jump. Yeah, bro. Like if we say jump, the government says jump. You say how high. You don't make the rules. The people make the rules. And as soon as the people realize that, stuff like this immediately evaporates. That's it. It's about fucking time. Yes, and we'll win. Yes. Do not ever, ever, ever think that you can't overpower these parasites. You easily can. The only reason why we don't is because people are stupid. That's the reason why. It won't change unless people stop.
Well, that's it. They keep on buying it. The people get dicked by these companies. That's the problem. Keep on buying from Amazon, Ubisoft, Blizzard, Electronic Arts, then they're just gonna laugh at you like you're a clown. And there needs to be laws in place that they don't care about.
Buying it? Of course it will. Of course it will. You just make it against the law. Problem solved. That's it. You just change a regulation. If anyone doubts how powerful the EU initiative can be, Video Games Europe, an industry lobbying group, has unsurprisingly come out against Stop Killing Games. The arguments against allowing you to keep your purchase are flimsy. I'll have a video on it in a day or two. Yep, and so will everybody else. The thing is that these lobbying groups are really important, but what matters even more than lobbying groups is votes. Because different people that take money and are influenced by these lobbying groups, if enough people complain about it, you can make it go away. People are complacent. Yeah, these people like money, but they care more about power. And so, yeah, they know how effective it's going to be.
I believe a lot of people don't even care about the money. You're talking about these companies that put out crappy games. Most of the time that don't even work half the time. They're all bugged out from these companies. And so I mean, a lot of them just keep on putting out, spewing out the same crap a lot of times. And they just don't care if they lose money doing it either. They don't. But I mean, the thing is, people have to stop buying. They have to do it with their wallets. And new people have to take over these companies and say, you know, F you fucked up our company. We need to give, you know, before we got stuff on disc, we got stuff on cartridge games or disc or whatever. We owned that. The companies did, we did. That's because we paid for it. We paid for it, we're supposed to own it. Same with movies. You know, we talked about that before, where, you know, they're doing away with DVDs, and even actors that are in these movies are not getting paid the same either, or else they have to get paid in advance because they know that these movies are probably going to flop. Says a lot about that. They don't make as much. And you get rid of DVDs, you have stuff on the Amazon, Netflix, or other companies put out. And you pay full price like the Amazon and those other companies for movies, or in other places for multimedia, anime, Japanese anime, etc. We should own that, and we don't. So.
Full statement. There's more. Really? All right. So this is the full statement that they made. Video Games Europe said in their statement, "We appreciate the passion of our community. The decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online service is no longer commercially viable." Well, that's not even what people are asking for. People are not asking for you to provide online services forever. People are asking for you to allow other people to provide online services in absence of you providing them yourself. Nobody says that you have to run the server forever. They're twisting it again. It's included in the petition. It's an alternative or some sort of other solution. That's not the only way of doing it. They watch Pirate Software's video. Read the next paragraph. "We understand it can be disappointing for players, but when that does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with the local consumer protection laws." Well, we're going to change the laws, and so that's it. And hopefully, at least, right? That's the goal. Private servers are not always a viable option
like
for
I
players.
Said, this is the European Union, EU. And American politicians don't care as much for consumers' rights as the EU does. And that's a huge problem, where they don't. Really says whose side they're on.
As the protections we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and to combat unsafe community content would not exist and would have rights holders liable. No, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
no, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Absolutely not. You don't have to regulate the entire internet.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. It's not your stuff.
It's
not your issue. If somebody else takes your content and they turn it into something else, you're not legally liable for that. And also, if you are, then maybe we should solve that problem too. So let me get this straight. Because of one stupid rule, we have to have another stupid rule. Right. Hey, I've got a solution. Why don't we stop making stupid rules? Like, how about that? How about we stop creating this apparatus of retardation that everybody has to fucking play gymnastics around because a bunch of lawyers want to make money?
Right.
It's ridiculous. What a ridiculous idea.
The thing is, if they make a good game, they already made their money off of it. You know, hundreds of millions of dollars, 50 million, whatever, 100 million, whatever, right? So it's like people are arguing, I guess, over private servers, and they're saying, hey, we have to worry about these other people. No, you don't. You already did the game. Your servers are offline. Let the people do what the fuck they want. You already made your money off these games. etc. So stop your bullshit saying that you have liability for this and that when you've already done all that content with your game or DLCs as well. So when that's over, you give it to the people, that we paid for to own. So.
In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. No, it's just that you have to provide an option for players to be able to play peer-to-peer. There is no reason why players can't play peer-to-peer.
Right.
And also, your ability to maintain and control your intellectual property, in my opinion, does not supersede an individual's ability to have ownership over what they've paid for. And this is the big problem, is that these people view intellectual property as the pinnacle of value. No, consumer rights, consumer protections, and ownership is the pinnacle of value, and intellectual property is underneath that. You can state that as rent? Yeah, that's totally different. They could just make it possible for other people to emulate it? Yeah, that's not the way it works. Yeah, you can have plenty of DRM is more expensive with no DRM. You just said it. Move the goalposts so multiplayer is either peer-to-peer or a service. Yep, exactly. And let's go back. I can see and find this here. And where's the rest of it? We welcome the opportunity to discuss our position with policymakers and those that have led the European Citizens Initiative in the coming months. Video Game Europe's case is it can be too expensive for developers and publishers to offer private servers or single-player modes. It's not that it's too expensive, it's that it makes them have to give up a certain degree of their intellectual property. That's the reason, is that they think that their intellectual property is more important than our rights as consumers. Right. It's really simple. And I disagree with that. And if enough people disagree with that, we take it away from them, and then they have to jump the same distance that we say we do. So don't ever give these people an inch. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about any of this stuff. They don't care about the integrity of the games. They don't care about the legality of this. They don't care about anything other than maintaining a complete stranglehold over this, and doing so through the ability of them to exercise their connections and money and resources inside of the government. Never give a fucking inch. And so no, absolutely not. Yes, if we can get enough people together, we can make them do what we want. That's right. It's that simple. Not even about the game? Yep.
Yeah, it's not
let's make
about
them
the game, because they've already made their money off it, their profits, and everything like that. They're just looking for a way to keep on milking. The people make up excuses for people not to be able to own what we pay for. And it's really ridiculous that Osmond and these other guys just make this about games. It should be about everything, all kinds of media that we pay for. Because when we pay for it, we should own it. We shouldn't need a stupid internet connection either. We should be able to play it offline. And that goes for all these games and stuff. Like I see, of course, I see where MMOs are different. I do see that. That's different. I'm not talking about those, but games with peer-to-peer, and being able to play PvP, 64 players or whatever. They've made their money off of it. We bought it. We should be able to make our own servers and stuff like that, and make our own rules. I mean, back in the day, there's GameSpot, and we were able for a time to make our own servers, etc., and play games and everything, and that's the way it should be. Not the way it is now. Let me see here. That's the acceptable. So I was gonna do some UFO stuff. I don't know if I am. Let's see here. I have to go all the way back.
A white paper, a scientific journal saying a thing is just a snapshot.
Yeah.
And most people have no clue what that means in terms of general public. But if they can reference a video that covers that place.
Rifles. Let's see. I mean, I don't see disclosure happening. We have criminals that's running this Congress, both Democrat and Republican, are keeping this quiet. And everything. I think the people that keep this secret should be executed for treason. For keeping this stuff a secret. It's not about national security. It's about a bunch of psychopaths keeping this stuff a secret, wanting to weaponize it and everything else. And it's just a bunch of bullshit about these guys saying it's about national security. Shut the fuck up. No, it's not. It's about making money off this stuff and weaponizing it and everything else. Anyways.
Some of them interact, I think, inadvertently negative with us, as in they're emanating, perhaps through their technology, they're emanating electromagnetic waves that are in energy that are interfering with our equipment. So it's more of an area effect. So I feel like it's probably not on purpose. And then there's another class that's actually hit us with a microwave weapon. So actually shut down our systems. Actually turned everything to the off position.
Wow.
Right? That's a very deliberate. Now, is that defensive or offensive?
Right.
Is it shutting us down to protect itself, or shutting us down to understand how we'll react?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like you get into all these philosophical questions of are they prepping the battle?
Congress was widely complaining about the secret cabals, defense contractors doing all the secret stuff behind their back. And we have the mafia running, we have mafiosos running the government right now, criminals running this government, psychopaths and everything else running it. Forget about, cartels, mafia and stuff like that. They're the ones that are running this country. Making money off us, taxes and everything else. Taking away stuff from us, etc. Keeping secrets from us. Saying we don't need to know about it. It's all a bunch of bullshit. And everything else. And it pisses me off to the core.
Space, or are they showing us that our ways are brutish and our war games need to stop or something because we might blow ourselves up? And it's just really, it kind of boils down to philosophy. And so I do think gathering data is good, but it does bring up this interesting question, which is, from my limited experience with you, you seem like very practical and very data oriented, and just kind of the preeminent kind of practitioner, where you want to find an answer. You don't want to get caught up in necessarily crazy kind of philosophical discussions. I've spoken with Jake a little bit before you, and it does feel like this kind of spiritual journey for him. I spoke with Alex Focus.
Jesse Michaels, shout out to them. Doing this. So.
Who I know is working with you guys as well. It seems like kind of a spiritual thing for him. How do you reconcile that? Is it good to have kind of a mix as far as the team? You want some guys who are a little more philosophical, some guys who are kind of more execution oriented, or how do you view that? Because it does feel like a lot of people who get into the UFO subject and study it from the government perspective, OSAP, with, Skinwalker Ranch, they come in like, maybe like, oh, we're just going to figure some stuff out. And they come out, I don't want to say more religious, but more like reverential, like where they're like I went and then I got a little spooked, honestly. I had a weird month after I went, and it kind of put the fear of God in me with this stuff. So yeah, I guess, how do you think about all of that?
So let me actually take a step back to our origin story.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not a whistleblower.
Yep.
I never held a clearance in the government related to anything or was read onto anything with UAPs whatsoever.
UFOs.
My government experience has frankly just made me the person I am, who can be open-minded and observe and report, collect, and understand, right? So that's kind of a unique position to be in. Unlike David Koresh or Jake Barber or others, Lou Elizondo, I have no whistleblower story at all.
Yep.
Everything we've done for Skywatcher is 100% commercial activity.
Yep.
That commercial activity might be in support of a government event, again, unrelated to UAPs, because the government has said, look, thanks for the observation, we have nothing on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Skywatcher truly is a technology company that was started because of UAP, right? So if you look at Anduril, you look at CACI, you look at Boeing, Lockheed, all these other bigs, they were started for national defense purposes, right? So they started with a preconceived notion of, I want to spot a stealth aircraft, I want to spot a MiG-31, I want to spot a supersonic missile, and they worked backwards to develop technology for that purpose. Skywatcher, conversely, has started with, we're looking at an unknown enemy weapon system or thing in the sky. We don't know what it is, and we don't have a good signature of what that looks like, and we want to detect that. So what we did is we consulted with industry experts, pioneers in their craft, academia, some savants, and said, here is a classified drone threat. Here's the parameters I need to measure. How do we design a system that will actually detect this drone threat and enable us to understand more about that threat? So for 3 years, we've been developing Skywatcher as a technology, right, that basically flips the paradigm on its head. Instead of saying, I want to track a MiG-31, we're saying, I want to know what that thing is in the sky that nobody knows is there, and I want to quantify it. So Skywatcher actually was my cover term for UAPs, right? I have briefed VCs, I have briefed high net worth individuals, I have briefed the government on Skywatcher as a technology without ever saying the word UAP. Because again, when we thought that the UAPs might be a national defense problem,
UFOs.
we approached it from a veil of secrecy. And Skywatcher was how we would converse with people about technology development that's really slated for UAP detection and tracking. So we are a technology company rooted in unexplainable, unknown physics and trying to understand that from a defense perspective, right? So because of our scientific approach to this, we have a lot of data, and we don't have a lot of room for areas that don't have data, right? So what I mean by that is, as I said in the episodes, I'm not a believer. I don't want to have faith in this. I don't want to have to trust me, bro, and like see believe you when you tell me. No, show me the data, and then I'll know, and I'll have knowledge, and then I can understand.
You know how we're always diving into the edge of science and consciousness on this show? Lately, I've been thinking a lot about aging, not just in terms of years, but in how...
Inside in terms of craft in the sky, I think we have that, right? And I say that the episodes we produced, why did we do that? Alex and I had a conversation about this, and I was very insistent, as was he, like, we have 4.5 years of data. Right? It sits on a drive in a certain place, and...
That's also important for the audience to understand that you've been at this for a while. The public reveal was more recent, but you've been at this for almost 5 years now?
5 years, yeah. The analysis of that data is onerous. It's hard to do. It's expensive. And Gary Nolan talked about that today at the hackathon, about how hard data is. Even his data that he has, it's very hard and expensive. There's a real monetary cost to conducting the analysis and doing it scientifically. So the data is great to have, but analyzing the data is very hard. So instead, as an interim, we've decided to video and document the activities as they unfold. And so at great cost to our own business and expense, if you will, in time and energy and effort, we have documented these things so that when the data is released scientifically, they have a backstory to understand how the data was collected. Because again, the scientific report, a white paper, a scientific journal saying a thing is just a snapshot.
Yeah.
And most people have no clue what that means in terms of general public. But if they can reference a video that covers that place and time of that event unfolding where that data was collected, now it tells a whole story.
Yeah.
Now you have the anecdotal, you have the literal live, imperfect experience as things unfold, and then you have the post, very scientific data analysis that actually covers down exactly, explicitly, the analysis of how that event unfolded.
Yep. And I want to get into the data. Final question before we dive into the taxonomy and all the classes, which I'm really excited about, is Jake Barber. How did you partner up with Jake, and how'd you meet him?
So I was very cautious for a long time of who I would meet with or talk with. I actually met with Gary one time and
Yeah.
did it in a way that frankly made him very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because who's this guy meeting me?
Yeah.
Like he was a little freaked out because
Yeah.
I was very secretive in very spy versus spy type of meetings.
Okay.
With Gary, and then I also ran into some congressional staff members, did the same thing of like, I don't want to be on your calendar, but I want to like, your congressperson is saying publicly that they want this. Well, I have it. Let's talk. But again, we kept everything in the IC and very secretive. So first I met Gary, and then I met Alex, and then after we met, Jake and I met when we started forming the company Skywatcher as a private entity.
Cool. All right, let's get into the data. So you guys just released a video that's just fascinating, where you have 9 classes of UAP that you described. Can we go through them class by class? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
And I don't know if you remember all of them off the top. I have a picture
Yeah,
on
I
my
know
phone. If you know all, okay, I love it. Awesome, man who knows his crap. Okay, so no pun intended. So let's go with class 1.
Class 1 is the Tetra. The Tetra does have different characteristics than just multi-band imagery. So electro-optical, which means daylight camera, usually with a little bit more bandwidth, if you will, so you can see a little bit more than the human eye can see in the visible spectrum. Then we have middle wave infrared and shortwave infrared. All 3 of those sensors see the class 1s. It registers on all of them. And then also we have radar that we see the class 1 on.
Any typical behavior that the class 1s engage with? You mentioned they were in a formation before. Any other interesting data that you have on them?
Yeah, so the class 1 tend to fly in groups. We've seen 1 or 2 as a singleton, but usually they're in groups of 3 to 20. And that group tends to fly through in some kind of formation, and it can be everything from 4 or 5 craft seemingly locked together, maneuvering as a group with another group, and even a third, all the way from that to looking like a V formation, like a stealth bomber would look, or a flock of birds, but clearly doing UAP things that don't happen in nature. So we've seen them fly through in those formations right over us, right? So like most UAPs, they'll deviate their flight path that we first see them on, then they'll come into beam of our telemetry systems, and we'll see them on a map, and we'll know exactly the altitude, ground speed, radar cross section. We'll have all that data on that craft at that time, or that group of craft, and then we'll follow their flight path as they fly right over us or right next to us, or whatever maneuver they're doing. So we'll see the class 1s fly right over us. Like I said, usually in a formation of some kind.
Okay, class 2. What are we looking at?
Class 2 is the Tic Tac. So it's about 40 feet in length. We saw that first in 22 and then in 23, and then we didn't see them again until 25, till February this year. We've seen them in groups of 1 to 3. They don't appear to fly in formation as much as arrive together in a group and then depart as singletons. So really hard to say. We don't know that we have them on radar yet. We have a lot of radar data, and for example, in our February event, we had a class 2 which exhibits some very strange behavior, which you'd never seen. It actually used the hills to hide from us and hide from our primary sensors. So we're watching jellyfish fly through the sky, and started having interference with our systems, we believe from the jellyfish. And then we had some weird radar blips to the north of us, and so we started looking to the north, and then we saw several UAP, one of which was a Tic Tac. So the Tic Tac, we have laser range finder returns on it, and we have it in multiple spectrums of imagery, but we don't have any SIGINT from it, and we don't have any radar that we know of from it.
Do you guys have infrared?
Yes.
And you have infrared of the Tic Tac? Because, I think of Nimitz, 2004, and I think that the best imagery for that was thermal, forward-looking infrared, 2004 case with David Fravor and, USS Princeton, so.
So what's interesting is the government, if they have never released the electro-optical view of the Tic Tac. I don't know their motivation, whether they have that footage or they have chosen not to release it.
They say they do.
But I'll say, in our footage of the Tic Tacs, they are not a round cylinder only, right? They're actually more like a porcupine.
Okay.
So if you look at, if you zoom in and enhance the footage, you can actually see little spikes all around the craft, around the perimeter of it.
Interesting.
Kind of riding the surface of it. Furthermore, I talked about in the other video, the episode, that they appear to bend when they come out of high G maneuvers.
Whoa.
So they're flexible, or semi-rigid, if you will.
I think do you guys have video? Maybe that's the Manta, I don't remember, but it feels like the thing is bending in the video. Is that the Tic Tac?
And ProPixel did a good job of zooming in, enhancing, and showing that.
Okay, so a little AI enhancement. Yeah.
Which we didn't do ourselves on purpose.
Sure.
Right? We wanted to give our government the chance to say, stop sharing this data. It's sensitive. So we did a very controlled, limited release with footage that wasn't the most spectacular. To give the government that opportunity to ask us to rescind or stop.
Have you gotten any calls to stop
what
you're doing?
I don't like about some of these people. It's like, fuck the government. We have the right to communicate with these NHI, non-human intelligence, whether government likes it or not. It's a government that is a bunch of psychopaths, mafia type people that don't want us to know the truth. Always lied to us, over-taxing us, and everything else. Fuck the government.
No, quite the opposite. I've sat in meetings with various agencies of the government very recently. We do routinely share a lot with the government, and I've asked the government to nebulize me, to give me an NDA, to tell us to stop, make us, give us some kind of indication, or even lately, hey, give us some talking points. Like, what helps national defense on this? And I'll tell you, the government's refused. So,
it's
what does that mean?
In a much probably
smaller,
more mini way.
He and these other guys are for militarization, and for keep certain things classified, national security BS and stuff like that. I'm on the total other side of who they are and everything like that. I believe that people have full right to knowledge and everything else. So.
Than you've experienced, feel the same way. I feel like the lights are on, but no one's home often on the government with this stuff. Where on the one hand, you have David Grush's claims and others, and honestly, a lot of historical evidence that we have real reverse engineering programs. We have saucers and hangars. Like, we know a lot about this stuff. And then on the other side of the spectrum, it's like you continuously meet these people where you're like, oh, that person should be like one of the architects of this thing, or whatever. You get into these rooms, and like it often feels extremely frustrating, where it's like no one knows what's going on. And if there's anything, we were talking about this earlier, like, China has its own centralized way. Even if you read the three body problem, it's like they'll just knock on the scientist's door and say, you're coming with us, right? And in the US, you have these kind of private side, people innovating on, anything happening. And it's always this kind of distributed, loose thing. It's not this fully top-down, centralized system. So it's just so hard to make make sense of how much the government actually knows on this. So is your sense that they don't know, or they're playing dumb, or what? Or
Well,
So-
it depends. It depends
I think it's
what
kind of a-
branch, what part, what department. It depends what department, what people, because this is a multi-generation thing, and people come and go with this. People, come in that don't know anything. They have to be debriefed or whatever. And there are some new people where, the old doesn't feel like telling them everything. They want to keep some stuff to themselves. It depends. It depends on what department, compartment, whatever. Depends.
Mixed.
okay,
Right. So when I meet with the government and ask them, usually the conversation will go something like, James, nice to meet you. Let's talk about the data you have. Let's talk about what you're seeing. I'll lay out all 9 classes, kind of give them like probably 30 minutes to an hour long overview. And then they'll say, great, since we're in a skiff, I'm going to make a call to this other program, has all this knowledge and data on stuff, and I'm going to ask them if anything you have matches what they're doing. And the answer is always no. The answer is always they have no clue what you're talking about. There's nothing in inventory that matches what you're describing. So yeah, we don't know, right? And then usually what happens after that is a deer in the headlights look. I held a meeting recently where there was a guy on the VTC in a classified settings kind of smirking, right? I thought he was incredulous or thinking negatively about what I was saying. Turns out he was smirking because he already has done his due diligence and says, like, we have no knowledge of any of this, right? As in, like, I think he may have even said maybe this is off planet, right? Which is quite shocking when I'm in a room with subject matter experts from the government on UAP and UAP tracking and history, and the answer they give me is maybe it's off planet. And he says in a smirking manner because, like I said, there's different categories of people, and even in a room of people who are studying or trying to learn about this, there's still that edge where there's a little bit of taboo for him to say that I think it's off planet.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I would also offer that typically engineers and scientists are bad liars. Actually, they're not really good at keeping a straight face and talking around the topic.
Yeah.
And I've purposefully affronted several of them or confronted them with some of our findings to see and measure and kind of put them in the hot seat to see if they have a reaction. And the reaction I get from them is typically very honest, that they have no idea what this is. And these are people that should know about it. So do I think that there is misdirection?
I don't think much highly of so-called scientists. I think they're idiots, degenerates, if they don't know about this stuff. Me, I never needed stupid science. I never needed, astrophysics, thermodynamics, all sort of stuff to know what is real. I mean, these are the same people that said I was retarded, people like me were retarded, or demons, or whatever. And so I usually don't have respect for those people much and stuff, because my people always knew about this stuff. So it's not like, they hold them in high regard. I don't. I hold them on the bottom chain a long time. And everything. So, let's see here. Let's see where it goes on this.
Alcohol consumption over the last few years elevate the experience without any of the guilt. It's like having a moment of calm in your pocket, ready whenever you need it. Alcohol doesn't have to be the default anymore. Whether you're cutting back for dry January or just looking for a healthier way to relax, you've got to try Cornbread CBD gummies. Right now, American Alchemy listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/Jesse and use code Jesse at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/Jesse, code Jesse. Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life.
Yeah, and I don't think that disclosure is what the common populace thinks it is. So when we talk about disclosure, we release the disclosure framework because it's our belief that, and our understanding and our desire that when we release data and scientific studies, nobody should have to ask what that means, right? When a third party looks at our data and reaches conclusions, nobody should have to say, "What does that mean? That there's aliens? Does that mean that the government knows what's going on?" Like, there should be some kind of framework that covers what that means, and that can be clearly articulated of this report and this data means this. So that's why we laid out the disclosure framework. But I would add a twist on that, and that it's my opinion that disclosure isn't about aliens, it's not about UFOs or UAPs. It's my opinion, Eric Weinstein, I believe, has said that there's secret physics. Yeah, secret physics or secret science, and I believe that is the case.
You know that there's...
It supersedes stupid science. It's spirit stuff. It's, in human terms, it's magic. It's the paranormal. And idiots that just want to say this science is not. This is something spiritual. There's something above that they cannot see in their small minds. As well, I don't like Weinstein, please. I called them retards before for not knowing about this stuff. I have forever. It's like, oh my god. I know people don't like me saying that, but they used to say that I was crazy. You're the same idiots that said that I was crazy stuff didn't exist. It has forever. Let's see.
Changing, and now there's agents of the government hunting for you because they think you're responsible for this UFO phenomena, UAP phenomena. They think that you somehow are using your advanced physics to do information operations warfare against the American populace. So they're actively hunting for you. So now you just went from a patriot who loves his family, loves his country, and is very smart in developing technology or protecting technology and science, to the boogeyman that has somebody hunting for them. And so that Lockheed engineer needs a pressure relief valve, right? So I think we have reached the point where our government has decided that it needs to release knowledge about the advanced physics and advanced science, but at the same time needs to constrain that Lockheed engineer or scientist from revealing their national secrets and protecting their national defense. So I think our government's conflicted in that, without saying it out loud, because by saying it, they're acknowledging that it's true. And no one has told me this. I've arrived at this position through years of discussions. No one has ever said, like, hey, here's the case. I know nothing from the government. In fact, all I ever get from them is deer in the headlights and questions and answers.
So much of this resonates with my own experience looking into this stuff.
So I think disclosure, frankly, is less about a UAP flying in the air and more about releasing the science. And how do you release the science? How does Skywatcher release the science? I'll tell you, we are a private company, privately funded. We have our own technology. We're developing our own technology. And as I stated in the beginning, we are rooted in and exist because of UAPs being exposed to us. Is that the government program? Is the government program to expose U.S., Chinese, Russian, whatever technology to the layman, right, with the right mindset, so that they can
stuff as well. There are different groups of people that does this psychically as well, and everything in different countries that does this. They don't use technology. I think it's mainly a Western thing, where they use technology and stuff like that. I see both sides applications, but I think when a lot of this supersedes mechanics. A lot of this is really spirit, magic type of stuff, with putting human terms, where you don't have to always use technology. I mean, using light beams, stuff like that, there are different ways that technology can help in some ways, and there's some where it isn't going to make a difference. So
produce science based on it to basically do disclosure of how they're doing it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, knowing that you know, hey, as we observe propulsion technology or telemetry technology,
This is
Yeah.
regarding because they were so-called science, you know, because we have to be able to use different propulsion systems for different craft or whatever. And there is different propulsion systems, you know, propel, you know, bend, you know, gravity, light, other stuff like that. But
whatever we're observing,
Yeah.
that even if we understand how they're doing it, we're still 60 to 90 years behind them, right?
That is mind fuck. Excuse my French, but like the idea that that's their soft disclosure of secret science is us through, you know, civilian efforts like what you're doing, private efforts, detecting what they're doing and then working back from first principles on how to build it, and maybe even building things that are emergently adjacent or new compared to what they've done over the last 60 or 70 years, which they can't admit to or own up to. That is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And that's what I believe is happening. I believe that's our role. I believe that's why when it's the government, they give me no answers.
Sure.
They just want to see, hey, what are these guys going to come up with
Yeah,
when they poke us, the bear, or whoever it is. And like I said, there's different categories. I think there's blue, I think there's red, and I think there's other.
Yeah.
And I have an idea of which class is which, but I don't want to share that.
Sure.
But I believe that there is a mixed bag of what we're seeing.
Why do you feel like it's premature to share that, or why?
I want the government to have the chance to stop me before I reveal
Yeah.
secrets.
Yeah.
Right? So that's frankly why we're holding back.
Yeah.
It's not because we don't have the data or the knowledge.
that's
It's because
bullshit. That's total bullshit. I do not like. I mean, this is the thing where they want the government control how if we can communicate with extraterrestrials, not human intelligence. I don't support this in any way. I'm totally against this stupid government, a mafia-run type government that we have keeping this stuff secret and everything else. They want to weaponize this stuff. They want to make money off of this magic stuff as well. And a lot they don't want to admit that the illegal side of defense contractors that have been doing all this illegal activity over decades. Alien abductions as well. You have cow mutilations, etc. That's been happening for decades, and they just don't want to acknowledge all the illegal activity. Congress doesn't, the government doesn't, and they're keeping it all quiet because they refuse to admit this, along with people getting radiation sickness from different propulsion types as well. That's being tested and utilized on reverse engineered vehicles, etc. People get sick and dying, or other NHI or reverse engineered. So there's a lot of corruption. I don't respect the government. I don't.
we want to do this responsibly.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, disclosure is going to be more about, we're making observations right now. We made observations in March and in February that revealed to us the technology in play. And what that means is I sat with a physicist from a certain field looking over my shoulder while I went frame by frame on one of the UAP classes that we have not revealed yet. And that physicist was able to say, wow, that's the technology being used. That is how the propulsion works.
Whoa.
This is what the shape of the craft means.
Yeah.
Right? So no longer are we, it's magic. Okay, I can't replicate that technology.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they're doing that in that kind of form factor, in that size and scale.
Yeah.
But no longer do I have to say, I don't know how they're cloaking.
Wow.
No longer do I have to say, I don't know how they're propulsing. Right?
Whoa.
Now we can understand, okay, this is why we can't see them sometimes, because perhaps they're using what
This is
we've
something
observed.
everybody has a right to know, not just the government. this shouldn't be, closed doors. I don't trust them. I don't trust him. I don't trust his organization, and they're keeping stuff secret. Everything. This should be open to everybody.
Yeah. Right. So those observations tell us something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give me the science and the tools to go make it and do it myself.
Sure.
So that is one of the things we were doing at Skywatcher.
That's still fascinating, though. I mean, can you say anything about what that scientist said about that specific?
No, I have to leave that. Have to leave that. Let that go for a while.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand that part of Skywatcher is an applied physics, applied science, if you will, where you're working to understand the technology behind what we were seeing, and really.
This why there are other sects around the world, like in East Asia and stuff like that, do like psychic meditations, different places, and even here in the United States, there are sects that do stuff through meditation to get a hold of NHI, non-human intelligence, UFOs and stuff like that, is because of these, in my view, corruptive groups that are keeping this stuff secret. I don't trust anybody that's keeping this stuff secret. I would put it out there. Fuck the government. People have the right to know. And this is probably one reason why I don't get as many views, because I don't like the government, stuff like that. And YouTube doesn't like that, so a lot of my views on that. But our governments are very corrupt. They are. Keeping secret stuff like that.
Wrong. We're actually working to understand the science behind what we're seeing, so we can understand the technology. And again, let's say that that is a made in America thing, and that, some agency flew that through specifically because of what we're reporting, we're seeing, so that we can release maybe to the world eventually the science behind it, so that innovation can be made to move us forward as safely as we can.
I need to put a disclaimer, because people are saying, this isn't all spirit, psychic stuff and everything. It's not. There is a type of science, mechanics to this, but there's also a spiritual magic, telepathy, psionics, psychic abilities that are being used as well, that transcend the mechanics, transcend science and everything. And science is the biggest reason why people still don't believe in UFOs, ETs, non-human intelligence, etc. And that's a big problem. Let's see. That's funny.
And see them. We see them on radar, right? So we have 3 classified, and we are seeing things in the skies. Those things seem to be there all the time.
Work more for humanity too. So I don't know if you've experienced that or
so yes.
That parody. I will say publicly, and I'm sure fans will get pissed at me, that we shouldn't disclose something that is, extremely dual use and could confer some really big warfare tactical advantage, obviously.
Well, I disagree, because Chinese already knows about these different things, Russians already do. And the only people that these secrets are being kept from is the public. And you have, other countries, it's not just China and Russia, but many other countries have other UFO programs, including South America has had some of their own type of stuff, there are parts of Europe, UK, Australia, etc. have their own type of UFO programs that they've been looking into or stuff they've been looking into. So I mean, they know about this stuff. The only people that don't is the public. And we have right to know the truth.
They are at parity, and if there are ways to implement some of this stuff civil side, and we don't have to send civil side science off into this kind of cul-de-sac of like not being productive because of bad frameworks, it would be great to get some of this stuff out. And I also see those graybeards at times being like, I wish I could work more for humanity too. So I don't know if you've experienced that or...
So yes, that is, we do have a certain level of, look, we'd like to help humanity, help our country. We're very patriotic, and we're very open about what we're trying to do, which is develop technology for national defense, and also at the same time, if through the science we can discover new technology, like we're all about proliferating that. Like that's responsibly. That's what we want to do.
Bullshit.
I think our government is constrained, right? The skies are not classified, and we are seeing things in the skies. Those things seem to be there all the time.
Stuff is classified.
There's a very specific time of day when we observe UAPs. They're not there the other times of day.
Can you say what time? Or?
I'll skip that for now.
Yeah.
But the point there is we can be on the ground looking up at the UAPs with a camera ball and see them. We see them on radar, right? So we have 3 spectrums that we're seeing them on with imagery, and we see them on radar. So that's 4 different methods that we're tracking them with. Then we get in a helicopter and go chase them. I've chased probably about 15 UAPs now in the last 60 days.
I wanted to ask you about
UFOs,
So when we chase them, we have never seen a UAP from the air.
Wow.
Right? Now, air-to-air intercepts are hard to do. I was not a PJ or F-16 pilot or anything Air Force, so Army. Right? So I have zero experience
playing catch-up.
I did a lot of skydiving and military freefall operations, but I've never been in an aircraft with a motor trying to chase another aircraft.
We have Jake on your team.
Yeah,
so that's good.
yeah, he's a really good pilot, right?
Yeah.
So we've chased about 15 UAPs, and they evade us, right? But they evade us because the ground can see them evading. From the air, we've never laid eyes on them. Right, we're sitting there with binoculars, sitting there with S-rear cameras. We're sitting there.
Why do you think that is?
I think that they have a method to be cloaked from the air, and that method does not extend to the ground. Right, and it's important to understand. Okay, so we're seeing UAPs.
How would you even do that? It's so wild.
It is wild, right?
They're a lot more
We're seeing
just thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us. So I mean, of course they have that ability to do that.
UAPs in commercial airspace, right, at the same flight levels that commercial aviation's flying at, that you cannot see from the air. So understand, if we're in El Paso working, and we see a UAP, and I'm looking north, and in El Paso, if you look north, actually from where we're at in Sierra Blanca, and the last place we were using, when we look north, all we see are airliners transiting because everyone transits the border right there by El Paso, just north. So in the same airspace, we're seeing UAPs.
UFOs.
Right? So UAPs that the pilots cannot see. And I know they can't see them because I've been probably about 200 meters from a Class 8, and the team's like, look out your left window, the UAP is right there, and me and the pilot and one of my colleagues is sitting there looking, scanning every sector.
Then you can't see it.
There's nothing there.
Whoa. Do you think, are you picking it up from the ground with normal optical sensors, with cameras, or with kind of more exotic stuff, or what are you picking it up?
So it's the ones I described.
Okay.
The radar and the 3 bands.
We should go through it. Yeah, so you have radar, you have infrared.
So we have shortwave infrared, medium wave infrared, and electro-optical. Electro-optical can see a little bit more than the human eye.
Gotcha.
And I believe that the reason why the electro-optical can see them, they cannot, is because that little bit of extra is where they're actually emitting light. And
Interesting.
They're not.
Where is, so the human eye, I think, is 400 and 700 nanometers is the range. So where would this be on the
I don't know.
The electro-optical would be like...
We haven't figured that out yet. We haven't figured out where in the spectrum they're visible. Like I said, we're running an operation, growing to the science.
Okay.
So, and I would even offer to jump ahead a little bit in the class 7s.
Yep.
For
But
40,
it'd probably be like 350 to 750. It's probably within the, you know.
yeah, it's probably somewhere like that. But the class 7s for years, we thought were black-bodied objects that emitted a purple and pink vapor of some kind or reflection with white tentacles, jellyfish.
Yep.
Right? Recently, in February, we saw class 7s with the naked eye. I saw one with the naked eye. It looked like a golden chrome-looking mirror that was highly reflective with white tentacles. Then we picked up binoculars and got high magnification scopes on them, and they looked bright white, but reflective. So under each observation method, we get a different return on what we're seeing. It's not consistent, right? So it's not a black body, I don't think. I think it's white, like the Tic Tac and like the egg and like other things that are out there. But that tells you the hard problem we have here. We're trying to detect a craft that isn't consistent across bands, right? And it's very hard to image at the same distances we are seeing these. If we see a drone, which again, we started this with drones, or a bird, we see lots of birds, or balloons, we've released balloons too, or aircraft. At the same distances, we'd be able to distinguish flight control surfaces, engines, exhaust. And we're not picking that up with the UAPs. Right? So we have a team sitting outside of the talk when we're running these operations with scopes and cameras, and they might catch a snippet for like 2 seconds of a UAP, but that's really all they're able to see. Unless, because UAPs typically are 5 kilometers minimum away, sometimes approximately 10,000 feet above ground level, right? Whatever that is in meters. So they're not nearby, right? And often when we do see them, or when we did see them with the naked eye, in the few times we have, they're very reflective. So actually, using the sun's glint to spot them is one of the methods we use, and should help us indicate that maybe we can't see them with the naked eye. Maybe
sometimes I can see with glints. It seems like I can see some of these objects with I call them glints. That's just me. I hear them is that's terminology that I use, glints. I see glints in the sky.
maybe all the naked eye sees are reflections.
Right.
Oh, that's so fascinating. So interesting. Makes me think of this Carl Sagan thing where he's talking about, like, you're seeing a shadow of the thing. You're not seeing the thing itself. He's saying, I think it's like a Platonic solid. He's using like a tesseract example. And, you know, that's just, and they're like, you know, there are, this comes up and it's very theoretical, but like holographic theories or principles. Grush even mentioned it in his congressional testimony.
The framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
Or afters, VCZ, like the afters, because we warp space time. So what we're seeing is just like an after and its after effect of where they were, they're not there. And stuff depends. So.
Class 3, what are we looking at?
Class 3 is the blob.
Yep.
So it's I describe it as a Pepto-Bismol colored cloud.
Yeah.
And in the center of the cloud is like a filament that looks golden, almost like a flame. Looks like it's a cylinder, maybe it has corners, really hard to tell. And this object, like the Class 1 and the Class 2, does fly in a stable trajectory, but while it's flying in that trajectory, it's vibrating vertically and horizontally, very fast. So it moves from point to point instantaneously as it moves along a stable trajectory. And when I say stable trajectory, maybe its flight path is 80 knots, right? Mm-hmm. But on imagery and on radar, it is bouncing all over in a perhaps like a tube almost like it's in the subway, and you took like the Tasmanian devil and threw him in the subway and said, go downtown. And he's going to bounce all over the subway while he moves down that tubular tunnel there. That's kind of what we're seeing in the sky.
Interesting.
Right? So as the Tasmanian devil bounces all over the tunnel, he's still moving at a certain speed, but point to point, he's all over the map.
Yep.
Right? But within a constrained area.
Fast.
So the class 3, we've never seen one up close.
Yep.
We don't know why it vibrates and how it's vibrating, but for sure it is vibrating because we have it on imagery and on radar showing it vibrating. That does meet the threshold of several of the 5 characteristics or maybe 6 characteristics of UAPs, in that it's instantaneous movement from point to point. That, again, there's no contrail, there's no visible propulsion, it's just moving, you know. And we've had to ask ourselves, and it's still a theory, is everything in the sky, you know, a holographic projection? Is this all just the government or a government messing with our heads, making us think we're seeing something, and all it is plasmoids from space-based lasers?
No, because it isn't. I mean, that's pretty stupid. It's always because this has been happening since humans have been around. They've been here forever in our skies. So no, it's not. You know, it's from another place. It's not just from the government. That's pretty stupid to think that, but please.
Making shapes, and they're bouncing them across the sky to throw us off or make us think a thing. I accept that could be a
I do know the government does psyops, like, you know, they did this drone BS that they did on us. That was a psyop as well. Take more rights away from us about what we could put in the sky is a huge thing, and everything. But
possibility.
But the government does do psyops. I do know that they would have their own extraterrestrial NHI craft dying in the skies just to see how to test us, do psychological profiles on us, and see how we react to this, and say, well, if we let secrets out, UFOs, if we let UFOs out, then how would they react? And this would be one game that they would play in psychological, you know, psyops that they do.
Because what we're looking at with the Class 3 defies any known physics, any known logic of how it's maneuvering. So is it really there? Is it, like I said, a plasmoid with lasers, or is there actually a physical craft there moving across the sky?
They'd have to be, if the government were doing that, they'd have to know where you guys are and then like be trying to spoof you or something, which I guess is possible, but you know, I don't know. That's fascinating. Do any of these classes, are they attributed more to the psionic assets calling them in versus the machine-based? Like, is it like the case, I'm just an example, the jellyfish only shows up with the machine-based thing, or the psionic asset only attracts, you know, this particular class? Is that, can you do those sort of attributions? Do you have data against that?
So we have 4.5 years of data with no psionics involved at all.
Wow.
Right. So
okay. So that was all machine based.
Yeah. When we were running these government events, nobody there was doing anything psionic, and if they did, they wouldn't be there anyway, right? Like the government probably wouldn't allow them to be present, and I probably wouldn't have hired them onto my team.
And that's why some of us others are going to do it the other way. We're going to do it the other way and say, fuck you, fuck the government. Hate these SOBs, I swear to God.
They were doing those things. So, no, 4.5 years has no psionics whatsoever, and we have 8 classes with that. That said, once we started doing this in a very open mindset of, well, I'm not a believer, I'm completely open. Like I've described several obscure theories that could hold true, whether it's a holographic projection, whether it's off-planet, on-planet, all these different theories. We have to, like, I don't have to believe all of them, but I have to accept that they could be true.
Yeah.
You have to be completely open-minded here.
Yeah.
To include on the psionics side.
Yeah.
And what I would offer is on the psionics side, I have had personal observations of things that the psionic team has done that appear to validate that their methods work. One example is in August, one of our principal psionic assets, Jordan, apparently called in a craft, and it could be an egg. I don't know what it is. And he's wearing a covering on his face. He's under a patio. He can't even see the sky. I'm looking at him, and he's having these experiences. And then Fred Baker was out on the back patio watching the sky while he hears Jordan freaking out down there on the beneath the porch down there. And Fred independently is like, oh, there it is, because Jordan said where to look in the sky, and Fred looked and saw an object.
Whoa.
And videoed it. We didn't have all of our equipment yet. It's very expensive to procure. So we had rudimentary equipment at that event. And, well, we caught rudimentary observations, right? So, but Jordan called it out, literally said, this is where it's at in the sky, this is what's happening, where it is, and there's some other things to go with that. But point being, okay, how do you reconcile that?
Yeah.
You reconcile the entire event.
Yeah.
Right? Fast forward to February. Well, we ran an event in January with the equipment, with no dog whistle. And we got 0 results. Right? So we have run events 24 hours a day. We've run events without the dog whistle, but the same technology and play, and we don't get UAPs during those times. It's only a very narrow part of the day. So in February, up till February, I'd never seen a UAP with a naked eye, ever.
Yeah. Wow.
In 5 years of doing it, it was always through a sensor.
Yep.
In February, we actually had, for the first time, the dog whistle paired with psionic assets. And while we can't say definitively that the psionic assets were responsible for the results we got,
sure,
for the first time, they approximated close enough to see them.
Wow.
They'd never done that before.
Wow.
Now, there's too many variables, right? We have to repeat this ad nauseum until we can say with some kind of scientific rigor that cause and effect or
correlation, causation.
Yeah. We also introduced more chaos. For 4.5 years, we had no helicopter. I had no Jake Barber. I had nobody to fly me up and go look. And part of our frustration with the government was we were underfunded when we were funded by the government for these events. And even when we were funded explicitly
that's
by
why you
certain
don't
parties.
trust these guys. Are funded by the government too. Never trust. I don't like these guys. Listen. Their stuff. They're part of the military-industrial complex, the national security, BS, and everything else for keeping stuff a secret. And I invite people just to do stuff on their own and say, fuck the government, fuck these people that don't want to talk about this. These people aren't a problem in my view. There's some stuff, that could go along later and say I'm wrong easily, but I know politicians personally, and I hate how they are, and stuff like that. They're just criminals and everything, and let me see here. Rate. So it should be right here. A lot of stuff I already know about. Because I have decades and decades of experience on this.
To go look at UAPs, we were still underfunded there. So we didn't have the capacity to go get a helicopter or find Jake and go fly up to them. And because we're not Skinwalker Ranch, we are mobile, we are nomadic. And our end state is that we would like to make contact with or retrieve some of this material, right? So you're not going to do that by standing on the ground watching it and being static, right? So we want to fly to them and observe them. So we introduced the helicopter activity, and that introduced more chaos into the event, right? So it's just too many variables to understand cause and effect with that many variables being changed.
Yep.
Right? So...
And one time when you were up in a helicopter, the helicopter was sort of frozen, like it couldn't continue on. Is that right?
We sent the helo out to intercept the Tic Tac,
right.
but the first attempt failed because our radar.
Times when UFOs have shut down helicopters and aircraft. and they just nosedive. You know, people have been killed by this before. They just are supposed to, I should say. So it's like an EMP that they discharge a lot of times. Luckily, it didn't happen with them, but
Was being jammed by the Class 7 jellyfish.
Where were we in the sky the first time you saw that? That was when we were 7 kilometers or so out to the northwest, 340 at that spot that we went to.
And we kept trying to climb, and it wouldn't let us.
Our helicopter launched, and about a half mile out, the helicopter stopped moving. Engines running, blades are turning, but it would not go forward, it would not go up, it would not go left or right. It was stuck there.
So we've had several interactions with UAPs in the air. First, the most prominent UAP we see are the jellyfish, the Class 7. When we chase them, they evade us. We have on video us flying towards the Class 7 and it changing its flight path, going into the wind, going perpendicular to the wind, and then elevating away from us. You know, we're moving at 80 plus knots in a little bird, and watching the Class 7s with video and with radar, we know its airspeed, and maybe it's 30 or 40 knots. We should be able to air-to-air intercept that all day long, but they consistently outrun us and escape us. So we've had that interaction. And yes, with the Tic Tac, I'll talk through kind of what happened with the Tic Tac, because it's actually very interesting. We had observed the Class 7s fly through our radar beam and approximate our team repeatedly over 4 or 5 days. I believe it was 4 days. On the 4th day, the Class 7, it was actually very interesting. We had nobody up on the hill outside of the talk. It was a barren hilltop. The helicopter wasn't there. On the 4th day, the Class 7 came and hovered over us for about 5 minutes. All right. Now, that's never happened before, and it hovered at about 800 meters over us, so we could see it with the naked eye for the first time. As soon as we started coming outside the talk to look at it and grabbing other cameras to try and image it, it started moving away. Right? Now, understand, the Class 7 has some kind of apparently inherent microwave energy that it's emitting, right? And that energy interferes with our cabling between our systems, we believe. So we've noticed an effect that when the Class 7 is present, we lose connection to our sensors, the high-end sensors that we're removed into. So our primary sensor didn't collect on that Class 7 while it was in hover or over us. Once it departed the area, our sensors turned back on, and we were able to actually image it. And I would offer, we've never had that happen before, ever. We never had one approximate, and we never had our sensors go down. So we have all, hundreds of thousands of dollars of camera gear inside the talk, right? And so here's the team scrambling, like our primary sensor just quit working, and now we're like, all right, let's grab the cameras and go image it. So everyone's in a hurry trying to do that, and poor Rory is out there just shooting all these videos and is taking photos like, oh, this is amazing, and talking through it. And then we look at the camera and there's no SD card in it. And we realized, because they were our secondary systems, like we'd never seen one with these cameras, right? They were there for emergency use and we hadn't prepped them, right? Sometimes through those errors, they're costly, but you learn, right? Now we are prepared for our secondary systems to become primary in case they approximate again. But we had to learn that the hard way, right? So we've seen the Class 7s fly through our airspace routinely and probe, apparently, our active systems, our emanating systems. And so each day it seemed to get more, I would say aggressive, but I don't know that it's aggressive. It just got more interesting. And so maybe the first day it flies over top of what our radar bubble should be. Then maybe the next day it flies over top, maybe a little bit lower, and then deviates. Maybe it's coming from the west and it heads north, and then later in the day it comes in from the west and heads south, as in it's measuring our radar beam, our radar field. So that's the impression we got. And then for the first time in February, we saw 2 jellyfish fly together in the radar, and they offset from us equally. So 6 kilometers north and south of us, and they flew right past us, right? Whoa. So we're like, well, that's pretty cool. I've never seen them in pairs before.
Yep.
And they're obviously interested in us in the middle, and they're putting themselves in beam of our systems. So then,
do they resemble the jellyfish that Jeremy Corbell revealed a couple years ago?
No,
or
not
different?
not to us. That looks like a shriveled up version of what we have. Right? I would say, our jellyfish are about 2 to 3 meters across in the head.
Yeah.
I think they look like an aspirin pill.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the tentacles are about 5 meters long.
And I think the tentacles in your case, if I'm visualizing it correctly, are a little more dynamically moving than if you look at the Jeremy Corbell thing, I think it's thermal imaging, and they look like kind of stuck together, and like they're not they're not moving, the tentacles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tentacles seem to flow a little bit more, and that's actually gets into I hate the word debunker or debunking, because it starts with the premise of we're going to prove you're a liar or prove you are incorrect. Instead of I'm going to consume what you're saying, I'm going to make a fair and unbiased estimation of the validity of that information and then release those results. So debunking, to me, is a adversarial relationship, and I think that there are paid debunkers out there who are too quick to come in and body slam and present falsehoods because they don't know the whole story and they're assuming they do. And they're assuming some kind of malintent on our side of, hey, these guys must be liars, these guys are some kind of secret government program. None of it makes any sense at the end of the day. But the jellyfish, what's very interesting is if you take a balloon and release it into the wind and watch it, which we have done, the string will dangle below the balloon. And why is that? Because the balloon, relative to the wind, is blowing in the wind. You might get some oscillation of some turbulence or some different winds at different levels as it transitions through those winds. But for the most part, you're going to look at a balloon and you're going to see basically like a lollipop, right? A straight line coming down from the strings. If you take a helicopter and you conduct operations like Jake does with a long line, and you put that long line under weight, you lift it up and start flying 60, 80, 100 knots, right? The long line with load, it's going to be maybe a 45-degree angle off the bottom of the helicopter. It's going to be straight because it's under load, but it's blowing back from the relative wind, pushing it back. If you take that same helicopter and release the payload from it, but keep the long line and then fly into the wind, something very interesting happens. The long line actually forms a U shape, and the U is in the direction of travel. And that's because of the air pressure on that long line builds up in the middle of it. The surface area becomes under enough pressure that it actually bends the line in the direction of flight, so that as you're flying into the wind, it's like a U or a C flying, like a Pac-Man flying into the wind, right? What's interesting about the Class 7s is we've released images of them with the tentacles sometimes being straight, and then the same craft, when we know it's flying perpendicular to the wind in a swimming motion, the long line, the tentacles are actually in a Pac-Man, shape, indicating that it is flying into the wind, or it's flying faster than the wind. It is not floating with the wind. So as these debunkers try to come out with their theories, sometimes it's sad that they haven't done their basic analysis and research, and they're calling things balloons that, maybe one day we'll find out it's a balloon, but it's not your run-of-the-mill Mylar bought at Walmart. If it is a balloon, it's a hybrid balloon that can lift, apparently, and maneuver against and perpendicular to the wind at will, and ascend and descend. So these are properties that normally balloons can't do. So am I saying it's not a balloon? No. But if it is a balloon, it has to be a hybrid. At least with our current understanding of physics. And there's something special about it.
Right. Some secret physics balloon at least.
Minimum.
Minimum. Yeah.
In proximity to it, it will say don't come any higher. Because that was when I told you guys elevate, right?
Controls resisting.
That's fascinating.
We were called out to intercept an object that was found on radar. We went to the location it was supposed to be at. We circled a couple times and were requested to climb another 1,000 feet. The instrumentation started to bounce and the collective basically was frozen.
And so you tried to, you guys flew up, and it was a Class 7, right, that you were chasing with the helicopter? And then it was like this, it was really interesting in this last video you guys released, there was like this almost like barrier you couldn't get beyond or something?
No, so to get back to the story, so we had Class 7s on the fourth day. One hovered over us, and we went to bed that night thinking, what's going to happen next? Like, what happens? Like, okay, so they've done everything that you could do to indicate we're interested in you. They've flown in beam. They must know whoever's operating these so we can see them. They must know that we're on the hill looking at them. They, like, for sure they must know.
They do.
When we fly a helicopter towards them, they evade it.
always know
So they
who's
know that
watching.
there's some kind of action force in the vicinity of them, right? Some kind of action element, us. So on the 5th day, I went to bed thinking, what's more aggressive? Is it going to come down and land? Is it going to blow us up? Is it going to hit us with energy? Like, is it going to send us a text message? You know, like, what's going to happen with this UAP that's more aggressive than what it did so far? What should we expect? And so that night, Jordan, our psionic lead, if you will, came up to me and Alex like, hey, tomorrow we're going to see, you know, a conflict in the sky. We're going to have different UAPs are going to come in, and there's going to be...
He sensed that.
He said that. And he said it to me and Alex, and I've since talked to Jordan. I said, Jordan, never do that to me again, ever. If you ever come up to me again, bring a damn camera with a date time group in the screen, record you telling us this prediction, and then mail it to somebody outside of our group so that there's proof that it transited to a third party because his prediction came true.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, that's what happened on the 5th day. We had jellyfish at a distance. We had extreme, I will just say, interference with our systems. Typically, we'd never seen jellyfish interfere with us in the last several years.
I said I could have had a message implanted in him from them. Some type of psychic message, it seems like. Because that does happen with some people. And stuff like that. With a lot of people that have no experiences with these craft. This stuff where they're getting messages and everything.
Up to this day, the 4 days preceding it, we had mild interference with our systems, disconnecting from the primary sensors when the jellyfish were in vicinity. But on the 5th day, the interference was constant for 2 hours. And because it's constant, we can't see the jellyfish. Our primary sensor doesn't connect. We can't use it. So we started looking to try and figure out what's going on. That's when we discovered the Class 2 Tic Tac and the manta ray in the sky hiding behind the terrain.
That's right.
Between us and the jellyfish.
That's so fast.
Right? And what's really, really crazy here is there have been 2 instances of UAP reacting seemingly to our intent. So around 2003, we were running an event, and we had the opportunity to bring...
They're psychic. They're psychic. They know your intent. I mean, they know that.
For the government event, we brought an energy weapon with us. And so we had this energy weapon up on the hill, and we're doing things with it for the government project.
Just microwave battery?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And we saw a Class 6 coming through our event, right? And this was extracurricular in our own time. And somebody from another group was like, hey, let's aim that thing at that UAP and see what happens if we energize it. So we're like, sure, let's just see what happens, right? So this person went to move. It was there was no electronic gimbal. It was like a manual antenna. You had to feed horn. You had to turn towards the UAP. So he's like, goes out there, a couple, call it 60, 70 feet from our operating area. Goes out there and starts turning it towards it. Mid-turn, before he could actually turn it to the UAP, the UAP hit us with an energy weapon.
Whoa.
Right? And that energy weapon turned our systems off, as in OFF, as in blank screens.
Wow.
It was working, and then it was in the off position.
Yeah.
This
and
is the problem with government people and stuff like that. They're trying to use weapons against other non-earthly entities or whatever. And they're asking them to that they can use a weapon against them, microwave weapon against them. And they had well within their rights to do whatever they wanted to them, SOBs, with that. These entities, I know myself that they're psychic and stuff, because I get stuff from them that they're watching me. They know my intent. I get that feeling from them as well. And stuff. There's different communication between me and them and other people, you know, that see these things. And it's a psychic, telepathic type of thing. So that's
Into systems that were not connected to the same network,
Mm-hmm.
and that were not used together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there were 3 separate systems that turned off. All right. So did the UAP know that we were going to try to send energy towards it, high energy microwave towards it?
Seems like
right?
it.
And did it react? I think so.
Yeah.
This has never happened since because we've never tried that again.
Yeah.
And we can't try it now commercially because that's highly illegal. No one should do that in the United States. You should go to jail. Like, that's not a laughing matter. The FCC will get you.
Yeah.
Or the FAA or whoever it is.
Yeah.
You can't just go do that. So it's.
Does that concern you at all? Just that interaction? Does that make you think twice about? Because you hear rumors of directed energy being shot at UAP, and
they do
I don't know. I feel conflicted about that. It feels like possibly
It is
dangerous,
wrong.
territory. You guys you're mostly doing just psionic?
You're enabling warfare. You're inciting warfare. Sons of bitches are inciting warfare when you do that. You hit them down there right to hit you back like that. In some ways, when you're doing it that way, when it's defense and stuff like that, it's a lot different. But when, you know, we're supposed to try to be peaceful, not a bunch of chimpanzees. You guys are acting like apes. You know, this is the military acting like you know, apes and stuff.
Based or not psionic based stuff, but trying to get them to land, or are you doing any of the shooting?
No. So Skywatcher as a team, we are not aggressive. We are not trying to go to war or have, you know, destroy American or Chinese or Russian equipment in the sky and
create an intergalactic battle.
Yeah, or have a war with NHI or whatever the hell it is. Like, we're not trying to do that. We don't want that pain. We don't want that responsibility.
Yeah.
We are approaching this very scientifically, peacefully. And so those activities are activities that we want to do, and if those are done, the government can go do that. We have no interest in harming or destroying any of this material or craft or beings. Like, that's not our interest at all. It's quite the opposite, actually. And our desire is that one lands, and that is, with the psionic team, what we're trying to do is get one to land peacefully, right? You know, we don't need to harm or kill or maim or destroy. We want to observe, collect, and understand. So that was the first time that we had UAPs react to our action or intentions, we believe. The second time was with the Tic Tac in February.
I know that. They do that. From personal
I saw
experience.
a manta ray, was watching the manta ray, and then it disappeared. Again, the manta ray and the Tic Tac were hiding from our primary sensor. They approached from the one avenue of approach we couldn't see for miles and miles, and they hid behind terrain, and they used the terrain to mask their presence from our sensors that were being taken out anyway by we believe, the jellyfish. So I sat there for probably 20 minutes and watched a manta ray in the sky. It looks kind of like a trash bag that never descends, or just an amorphous shape that's rolling and tumbling constantly. And then also a Tic Tac right next to it. So they were both in the sky, kind of about the same place, about 800 meters elevation, about 800 meters away. We're watching them. Manta ray for about 20, and then the Tic Tac for about 5. So at this time, we did have the helicopter up on the hill, and we had a lot of security because, again, this is day 5 of anomalous, weird things happening that never happened before. So we are expecting something interesting. Jordan predicted it, and it's happening as he said. So I'm like, hey, I want to get in the helicopter and go see the Tic Tac. Let's go chase it. So, like, what else? What other data can we get now? We can't get radar. We can't get the high-end imagery because those systems are off, right? They're not connectable. This is the day I told you where our secondary systems weren't ready to go. So we're looking at them with binoculars and scopes, and I'm like, well, let's go get more data. So I turned to run down the hill, it's about 200-meter run to get to the helicopter. I get 10
able to overlay some of possible information. Like, you see
a vulnerable position repeatedly. So as you get into the philosophical here, it's really hard to understand and see through, okay, why are they putting themselves in this apparently vulnerable position, right? To what end? Do they want us to fly to it? Do they want us to interact with it? I believe so. And Are they aware of our intentions? I don't know, because our intentions have not always been pure, right? Like I said, somebody aimed an energy weapon at one of these things,
Sure.
and
Like
it took action, right? So, is it, how does that fit? I really wish we could sit and have a philosophical discussion with a philosopher and say, like, let's walk the dog on each possibility, because there might be enough data to understand.
Do the psionic assets, are they able to overlay some of possible information? Like you see Jordan predicting, oh, the next day there's going to be a war in the sky, and it's accurate. To me, that would, and I know some of his story, and out of respect for him, I'll let him come out with that whenever. But, does that make you think, oh, a lot of this stuff he probably, believes philosophically about this stuff might be right as well? Like, it increases the probability that, the psionic assets are probably correct about maybe other things. Do they have any sort of metaphysical worldview around this that is possibly informative or illustrative of what you're looking at? Or
we haven't figured that out yet, right? We purposefully maintain a separation from the psionic team.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a double blind or something.
Yeah, precisely. Like, we're up on a hill with our system, using the dog whistle. We are not telling the psionic team, we have tried this in the past, but typically we do not tell a psionic team there's something inbound. They have no idea what's happening up on the hill. They can't see it. They can't hear it. They don't know.
Wow.
Right? And then we're documenting their call-outs and their descriptions and their efforts.
Yeah.
We've done that 2 or 3 events in a row.
Yeah.
Probably morph that and change that under guidance of our science team.
Yeah.
To kind of understand, hey, if they know nothing and we don't really know what they're doing, which is also the case, then we can't, to our knowledge, make an effect, and we can't pollute the other's minds with what's going to happen.
Smart way to do it. Right. Yeah. They must have. I mean, I've met a few of them, and it seems like they have some pretty interesting backgrounds and past history where, and I think this is going to come out probably increasingly in the next year or two, there are these kind of gifted and talented education programs in the United States that recruited often children to be kind of, high psi assets in various cases, and probably for various use cases, maybe part of the remote viewing stuff that Hal put off and Russell Targ started, back in the day, Stargate, Grill Flame, all of that. And then maybe some UAP related stuff as well. What do you think about their stories? Do you think that
psychics and stuff like that?
That is a widespread program in the U.S. where they're recruiting kind of these younger people?
So
Stranger Things, is that a real show?
Yeah, I have to ask.
Based on reality?
It's a really good question, man. Talking to some of these folks, their stories are very believable. Some of them have more than a story. They have data, they have documents, they have places and names and dates that go with their stories. So I'd offer that that data supports their story to a degree. It doesn't prove or disprove anything psionic, but it does show a programmatic nature of something occurring. Now, is that programmatic nature due to their own condition or their own self? Or is it due to a third party instituting something with them for a purpose? And I don't know that there's enough data to know that yet. Perhaps somebody has compiled that data and can show that disparity or that proofs, or actually not disparity, but parity between the stories to say, like, there is a systematic program. I would offer, a lot of times you have to lean on Occam's razor. You have to go with, like, are people really that evil? Is our government really that evil? Are they really that subversive of the American way? I think there can be limited cases like that, but I think they're limited. And I think when you look at this, again, through Occam's razor, you have to lean on, no, probably not. And if there is, it's very, very rare or done with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think there is a there. I think some of these programs did exist, and then it's hard for me to believe it was extremely widespread because we just have more of this stuff coming out. But we did experiment with parapsychology. I do think you get into, deeper levels of government or aerospace, and I do think people believe that the mind-matter duality thing is not as simple as, academia sort of presents it. Class 4, what are we looking at there?
Class 4 is the orb. We've only seen that a couple years in a row. When we did see the Class 4, we were doing certain activities for the government that we can't do commercially, and we're only able to do them for a limited amount of time with the government. So I can't describe those activities. I can just say that they were extraordinary and different. And when we did those activities is when we noted the class 4. We think it's about 2-3 years apart across. We've only seen it in the infrared, short wave, and medium wave infrared. That could be due to atmospheric conditions, dust in the air, or other reasons. We've never had them on radar that we know of. Again, we have a lot of data to cull through, and it's expensive and hard to analyze. We're working on that. So we relied on, look, there's an object, it's below the cloud deck, it's not returning a laser rangefinder return, it's moving against the wind, and what we observed was two of them flew in together on either side of our valley, and then camped for about 4 hours, 3.5 hours, while actually class 1s did something, again, extraordinary and different. And then after the class 1s were done, they flew out together, right? So I don't think celestial bodies could represent like that, or present like that, excuse me. I don't think, I don't know of any craft that can, we know the cloud deck wasn't that high that day. In our estimation, any drone or helicopter would have been hearable and visible under those conditions. And these were right here in the sky, just above us, 45-degree angle off each horizon and elevated. And they moved in tandem, right, as a pair. So again, that goes against like celestial bodies. It goes against any known technology. And so we believe that is a class of UAP. It could be another class that we've never seen do that activity before, but we have limited data, right? And we state as much.
Which class did you add with the psionic assets, which you just started working with? The egg. The
egg, the class 9.
Okay, fascinating. Well, that dovetails with Jake's story, where he said that when he retrieved the egg in, I think it was the mid-2000s on the range in California, there were some psionic assets present trying to call the thing in. So that's fascinating. Class 5, what are we looking at?
Class 5 is the manta ray. It looks like a black body object that might have perhaps vents on top of it that emanate some kind of, I'll just call it plasma, not necessarily a plasma, although I do believe plasma is seen in conjunction with UAPs often, but we don't know that, right? So emanate something that looks like plasma-ish. And it tumbles and rotates.
We were doing that with our craft. Well, you can see it right there, the energy right there, the plasma right there, the residue. I just stopped it right there, you can see it. That's awesome. But if we were doing this, if he was doing this in human aircraft, he'd be dead, his brain would be splat and everything else, his body would just be totally trashed.
Again, not too dissimilar from a balloon, but it does things that balloons don't do, like blink out of visibility or fly against the wind. It does other things. So we've seen the class 5 only twice, I guess 3 times now. So we have more observations recently in 2025. I think the last time we saw one was like 23. And we don't know a whole lot about it. We have it on radar. We have it on all the bands of imagery. We don't have any SIGINT for it. It's probably about 2.5 meters in diameter, and it just seems to fly through. It doesn't really stop and smell the music. Smell the roses, excuse me. It doesn't really hang out. It just kind of moves through and then leaves. Until the event with the Tic Tac, where it hovered in the sky and hung. So
that was so fascinating. It almost sounds like the manta and the Tic Tac were like allied against the jellyfish. Like there was this.
There's definitely
conflict.
that. There's definitely
so interesting, like War of the Worlds or something. Okay, class 6. What are we looking at?
So the class 6 is what we call the bright star. It vibrates a lot.
There are some NHI entities that don't get along with each other so much. So I've heard from tribal people and different kinds of people that wars in space and stuff like that, different types of stories. So
and it does things to our equipment, whether it's shutting off our equipment or interferes in other ways with our equipment to modify what we think we're seeing. Right. So
there's some signature management.
There is absolutely some signature management with the class 6. So it doesn't like us to track it. Right? It doesn't like us to put eyes on it, we think.
That sounds like possibly human, but
Very,
I don't know.
like all things are possible here.
Yeah,
It does.
But the Class 6
tracking
vibrates,
these-
oscillates very fast, so fast that if you're looking at it under camera, you think you see 3 of them. 1 unit of measure of the craft to the left and to the right. Really, it's one vibrating. And you know that because it comes out of the oscillation and stops, and then you see it's one craft, and then it'll turn back on, and it moves so fast that our system thinks it's a propeller. So when it oscillates, it's a propeller. It thinks, interprets it as, and then it'll stop oscillating, and then just kind of continue flying, and then the radar will indicate that it's not a propeller anymore.
Wow.
Right. So it does change brightness. It'll seem to like get very energetic, much like the Class 3 blob does. It'll emanate more light as it vibrates really fast, and then when the light kind of dies down, it stops vibrating as fast until it stops vibrating completely. And then it'll go back, almost like a cycle, almost like somebody starting a process, and that process, that chain continues until it's exhausted, and then it returns to its old state.
Vibrates,
That's
vibrates physics and all this other stuff. Gravity and also and other matter around it and stuff like that with vibrations and can really mess up things and also just flip physics and everything else around it.
Kind of what the impression is of what we're seeing with the Class 6.
Fascinating.
Class 8 is the Hornet.
Okay.
We've only seen a Class 8 a couple times.
Interesting.
Yep. Kind of like the Class 5, it's kind of elusive. We
Yeah.
see it a whole bunch.
Anything specific that you did around that time where the Hornet entered, or?
No, but the Hornet was the last UAP I chased in March.
Yeah. And that was, you were telling me on the phone, you got a little discombobulated or something?
No, that was actually the Tic Tac.
That was a Tic Tac.
Yep.
Sorry, you told.
The Class 8 is the one we flew within about 200 meters and couldn't see it.
Okay. And so what happened when you chased the Hornet? Class 8?
It continued on its flight path, didn't deviate, didn't change, but we just couldn't see it and document it.
Interesting.
Right? So it just continued on a very slow, it was only moving like 20 knots.
Whoa.
Super, super slow. Antagonizing. So slow, we were just doing orbits, trying like get in, chasing it in orbits, trying to get aligned to it so we could visualize as we went past it. We just couldn't.
Wild.
Couldn't ever see it.
Class 9.
The Class 9 is the egg.
That's the egg. So this is so fascinating. Is this the hope? Because I spoke to Jake, I think it was in January, and we had a really interesting discussion. He exuded a lot of confidence. He said in 6 months, we're going to get this thing to land.
If all things go well, before, I'm trying not to say a date, but within the first half of 2025, we hope to do a demonstration and invite key members of the public from institutions and demonstrate this and maybe even get something to the ground. And that's going to answer a lot of questions.
That would be absolutely insane.
And I don't know, maybe that's a, Elon Musk style timeline that's a little aggressive or something, but is it? Can you guys get the egg to land? Is that, presumably I would assume that's the hope because of his past experience. I look at some of these other classes, and to me there's such a gap between like the manta ray or hornet or some of these things and like a concrete object like on the ground that you can like reverse engineer and fly. So is the hope the egg, and can you guys bring it down pretty quickly, through peaceful psionic means? Or
I have no expectation.
Okay.
I literally don't know.
Yeah.
Like, is the egg a real craft?
Yeah.
Is the thing we imaged with our rudimentary imaging system at the time even there? Right? If it is there, can Jordan or someone else control it? Right? If they can't control it, are they able to tell it to land and have it land? I would offer in known history that has never happened. Right? And if it has happened, it's in a closed program that nobody knows about.
Well, according to Jake, it's happened.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So show me the money.
Yeah, right.
I'm open-minded.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
That'd be wild.
Will it happen?
Yeah.
Will it happen in 6 months? I have no idea.
Yep.
When I like it to, of course I would.
Is that the one you're holding out hope for as far as some sort of retrieval of actual material, or are there others that you feel might be able to, you might be able to derive material from, or?
Any of these craft appear to have material and technology that we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of them were to land or crash, that would be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can say
some could be non-physical though. Some are or some sort of plasma ball thing. Right?
I accept that could be the case.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, some of them might be holograms or plasmoids or things that, if they land, there's molten. The sand turns to glass or metal or whatever.
Right. Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? I believe we've seen 4 UAPs crash over the years.
Mm-hmm.
UFOs.
Really?
Yep.
You've seen them crash.
We believe, and I say believe for a lot of reasons. We've seen 3 Class 1s when we were doing, in 2023 when we did something special for the government. The
what
UAPs
they need to do is show
differently.
pictures of these class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s. They need to show these pictures each time. Each time they talk about, so people can remember which is which, because you and I don't remember all the which. Shut it up very well.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw about 200 UAPs in a day over a 4-hour period, and they were almost all Class 1s at the time. And they were actually coming, instead of just flying through our airspace, they were coming from directly over us as if from space.
Mm-hmm.
So they would come straight. We're shooting at about 26 frames per second, I believe. And between each frame, it's changed drastically in its flight characteristics and signatures so that we can only... Up there, I think we were 2 weeks into the project at this point. Every day, 12 hours a day, running the war game. And we were looking for drones as the mission control. And my camera operator, Mr. K, was like, hey, you have to come see this. There's something going on. So understand, we're up on the roof scanning the sky with binoculars, listening, seeing, and we see drones, but we don't see this other stuff. So I go down to the truck, and he's like, look at this. And he shows me the Class 1 formation of 7, the first sighting we had. This was the last day of the event, so we were shutting down a few hours later.
And just for the audience, Class 1?
Class 1's the Tetra.
Okay.
So it's a black-bodied object. It tumbles and spins at a very high rate of speed. We're shooting at about 26 frames per second, I believe. And between each frame, it's changed drastically in its flight characteristics and signatures so that we can only see a little bit of it, and we can't. Sand turns to glass or metal or whatever.
Right. Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? I believe we've seen 4 UAPs crash over the years.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yep.
You've seen them crash.
We believe, and I say believe for a lot of reasons. We've seen 3 Class 1s. When we were doing, in 2023, when we did something special for the government, the UAPs behaved differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw about 200 UAPs in a day over a 4-hour period. And they were almost all Class 1s at the time. And they were actually coming...
Fucking swear to God, I hate these things.
Instead of just flying through our airspace, they were coming from directly over us as if from space.
Mm-hmm.
So they would come straight down, ingress, and then they would egress out low level away from us. And they did it in 1s and 2s and 3s at a time. We saw about 200 of them total, 200 sorties. The Class 1s, as they're doing that, that's different, right? So as they were doing that, we saw 3 of them that, instead of coming in a low level egressing, came in at an angle from directly overhead and just continued as if to the ground.
Whoa.
And they went below the ridge lines, and we never saw them come up.
Did you go look for them?
Yeah. So it was actually really bad timing. That year we had really epic rainfall. That afternoon, after the show was over, it rained for like 2 days straight.
Oh man.
I had to wait about a week, and then I took a whole crew for a hunt for a cartel drone that had crashed. And we were out there looking for probably 6 or 8 hours. We found nothing. And again, what are we looking for? I'm looking for a glass crystal ball. I'm looking for a cube. Am I looking for a carcass?
Yeah.
Like, what am I looking? A tetrahedron? Like, well, what am I looking for here?
Yeah.
No idea. Yeah. And some of these deserts are extremely rugged. And at the time, I didn't have a helicopter.
Yep.
And then in 2024, we saw a Class 8 that started 3,500 meters above us as it came through in its sortie.
This is the Hornet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then finished its sortie just a couple hundred meters over the ground, again, right at terrain level. So we went out this January and flew for probably 2 hours, looking for anything. Again, what are we looking for? Don't know. Extremely rugged and difficult terrain. So we think we've seen them crash without us, to our knowledge, doing anything to cause that. But we have yet to find any wreckage or find anything to show, like, there is something here.
So fascinating. What do you think? Sorry, I keep saying it so bad, but it is. It's like it's just so interesting. Do you think that the government could be red teaming you guys at all? I mean, you know, you were in California near Palmdale, and then you were also in Findlay in Texas, and those are near, you know, pretty sensitive training facilities, test sites.
Yeah,
that sort of
I'm near there too. I'm near there too, so I see a lot of stuff as well. So out here in the desert and everything, I see a lot of stuff too. So,
sort of thing. Do you think that any of the prime aerospace contractors are throwing stuff at you to kind of mess with your reconnaissance systems or mess with your detection systems, or?
So I would offer, my opinion is no. And the reason why is the craft we are seeing are conducting explicitly illegal operations of these guys. They're invisible. There's no markers. They don't have ADS-B. They don't have AIS. They don't have anything on board.
Naive. It doesn't matter. These guys do everything illegal. Everything they're doing is illegal. Anyway, with what they're doing with these programs, and they've re-engineered a lot of stuff. So I mean, you know, some of it they have re-engineered. So it could be some stuff. It is. It could be, you know, some depending. I'm not saying all of this, but I'm saying some of it could. I just know them to be doing this stuff. This is the same country that has given cocaine to its own people, done radiation testing, you know, clouds and testing on its own people, put, you know, different poisons, acids, and other stuff in streams and stuff like that, and water to test on people. So, I mean, our government is very sick and twisted in a lot of things. So,
to show their presence. Also, they're flying adjacent to or in commercial air corridors, right, where all commercial traffic flies. And they're flying at flight levels. We see them at flight level 180. We see them, I presume, higher than 180. We know higher, but we can't measure it because it's too high for a radar to reach. So, whoever is doing this, if it is domestic, like they need to, you know, get their affairs in order before they get caught. Because if it is domestic, then they're breaking the law.
they don't care. They break the law all the time.
Would you have say a Mick West? We just talked about debunkers, Mick West or somebody like that out on the range to try to stress test, you know, what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we're willing to work with certain people. Frankly, personally, like I have no time for debunkers.
Yeah.
If someone starts saying I want to debunk, I just kind of get angry and kind of want to like lash out. Like, like just be open-minded.
Yeah.
Just listen. Take off your lenses. Of opinions and just open your mind and accept.
Yeah.
Let us share some knowledge so we can learn together. Should we invite out a Mick West or whatever? Maybe that could happen.
Yeah.
But frankly, like I have no interest.
But you would take a credentialed scientist out there who doesn't necessarily have a, you know, an a priori interest in UFOs.
Yeah, absolutely. Because understand the difference. One entity is hostile and extremely opinionated and has a preconceived notion of what you're saying, and the other entity is open-minded and willing to understand what you're saying before they formulate their opinion.
For sure.
And so the one, the hostile one, like again, I treat hostility with hostility.
Right.
I have no desire to work with, talk to, interact, or face with them because bad things will happen, and it's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd rather focus on the people who actually are open-minded, have the intelligence necessary to understand the problem, and aren't simpletons.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What's your take on the Jersey drone situation? We were just talking about that before we started rolling, and it still feels so frustratingly inconclusive. You have the.
It's all scam. It's all BS. It was made up. Some of it was real UFO, some wasn't. Some was reverse engineered craft. Some was real drones, and some of it was aircraft, planes, etc., all of the above. But it was a scam by the U.S. government to take more liberties away from the people and to surveil and track us by putting more laws on these drones. See what we're seeing. Just piece of shit government these things. Anyways, enough time. Y'all take care. Have a good night. We'd like to tell you what you feel.